And a very good evening to you, or good morning, or good afternoon, wherever you might be in the world, or maybe you're watching on catch-up. And for that, we thank you for coming back if you couldn't make the live show, but try and get here, because this is the fun bit. Yes, when you get to interact with us all. It is Friday, the 4th of March. It's just gone 7 p.m. here in the UK. We're all still alive, and maybe the next 2 hours will take your minds off the horrible world events that are happening, none of which shall be discussed in the next couple of hours, because it's all going to be synthesizers and music tech and lots of laughs and giggles on that front. We're 100 shows old today, so let's have a big round of applause for that one. Yay. We have broadcast non-stop for 100 weeks consecutively. We haven't missed a beat at all. Yet, so thank you to everyone that's been with us throughout this whole journey. I was going to try and do something a bit more elaborate than a cheesy GIF to celebrate 100 shows. I did think about getting some custom cupcakes sent to everyone, but it just wasn't possible. But maybe we'll do something on show 104, because that will be 2 years. So that's an official, proper kind of birthday. So that's in 4 weeks' time. But hey, it's 100 shows. We made it to 3 digits. So well done to everyone, and thank you to everyone that's joined the show over those 100 shows. We've had some fantastic people. This week is no exception. We'll introduce you to our guests and panelists very shortly, but before I do, I would like to ask you just a few things. First of all, if you haven't already, could you like the show? Just little button, just kind of about there, I think it is. Little thumb, just click that. That would be fantastic. Of course, only if you do like it. If you don't like it, well, stuff you. Subscribe if you haven't already. If you're new to the channel, you're new to the show, maybe you've just come here because Dave's on the show, then please do hit subscribe, because there's more fun stuff every week that happens live here. And if you know anybody that would love to join in with the show, then do share them the link, share it on your socials, and so on and so forth. Talking of which, we are available across all social media channels. Of course, we're here on YouTube, we're also on Twitter, we are on Instagram, where we post naughty pics of Ben, we have Facebook, of course, and as I said, YouTube, all of those at ProSynth Network. That's the handle. We are completely funded by our audience, and so this is the only time I'll mention this, but if you wish to donate to the show, there are 2 ways of doing it that helps keep us on air and pay all the bills. The first is you can donate to our PayPal page. Link again is in the description. It's just there on the screen. Donate as little or as much as you feel we are worth. Thank you in advance to anyone that does, and thank you to everyone that has so far. Your contributions have kept us going for 100 shows, and maybe we'll be able to do 100 more. The other way to donate to the show is through YouTube Super Chat and Super Stickers, and there's a little button underneath the chat box where you can click and put your credit or debit card details, and again, donate as little or as much as you like. It's all very welcome and gratefully received. Right, if you want to ask a question of anybody on the show today, in particular our guest David Bryce, then please do so in the chat, and if you could just prefix it with a large capital Q, and then maybe at us, at ProSynth Network, or at Ben Simpson, or at Dr. Mike. I can't remember what his handle is in there, but we'll soon see. Just do that, and then we can pick it out and throw it into the basket, and we'll pull those questions out as and when we get a chance to do. So I think that's all the formalities out of the way. So let's go around the table and see who we've got on the show today. As ever, he's been by my side for almost all of those 100 shows, because I've had 1 or 2 off and he's had a couple off himself. It's Mr. Ben Simpson. How are you?
Oh, I've had more off than you. I think you've only had one off, haven't you? Yeah. I'm
I've only had 1 off, yes.
I'm off nearly every other week, me.
Yeah, but you've got a valid reason.
Yeah, I'm great. Happy to be here. Looking forward to chatting to Dave. I'm going to be taking questions in the chat as usual. So if you just tag me in it, like Robbie said, and I'll keep an eye out for them and add them to the list of questions for later on. Loads of news topics today as well. We've had a bit of a drought lately, and now it's just kicked off, hasn't it? So we've got loads of hardware to talk about for a change. So
definitely.
Looking forward to the show. Should be a good one.
Good stuff. Excellent. Thank you, Ben. And we have we don't have just one, but we have two special guest co-hosts this week. We're welcoming him back all the way from the good old USA. He's the author of the Synth Gems 1 book that's available on Bukes. It's Dr. Mike Metlay. Welcome,
Hello,
sir.
you nice people in the computer!
It's Mike, all right.
Welcome back. How are you?
Oh, I can't complain too much, and if I did, it wouldn't change anything. No. Things have been good here.
Good.
We've had a good week at Atomic Words. I'm really tired, but I've been looking forward to this, and we had some nice new stuff drop just in the past 48 hours that I'm looking forward to talking about. So how are you, sir? You guys doing okay?
All good here. All good here. Now we have power restored after the incident a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, all good. Well, thank you for coming along. Our second co-guest host of the week, because we have a lovely pool of people we can pull from.
Robbie, I almost forgot.
Yep.
For the audience, because it's our 100th show, I have to do this.
Go for it.
Witty.
There you go. Everyone take a drink. There we go. I know there's some thirsty people in the chat. Talking of witty, this next man has just bought a shed load of them. And we were up for a while trying to get it all sorted out. We welcome him back. He is the Synth Restorer Supreme. It's Mr. Kent Spong.
Oi, Spong! What's up?
What? Oh, okay. Hi.
Hello. How is one?
Awake. Honestly.
Yes. I know how that feels.
Yes.
Or more to the point, I don't. But yeah. How's your week been?
Busy.
Yeah.
Yeah, but very busy. Buying things and trying to set things up and repairing things and blah, blah, blah. And,
running 8-hour live streams and
upsetting the local wildlife and all sorts of stuff. You don't want to know.
No.
Yes. So, yeah.
Jolly good. You've got a nice little synthy behind you there. That's not seen that one before.
No, this one has... she's having a burn-in.
Okay.
She's all lovely and restored now.
Hopefully not too much of a burn-in. I hope this one won't catch flames like the vocoder.
Yeah, no. This had. I did have to put a new reverb tank in it, but most of it's sort of like original steel, but new caps and stuff like that. Just repaired. I think VCO3 had gone on it, and just general gunk removed from pots and what have you. So she's a happy girl now.
Jolly good. Jolly good. Well, look, welcome. Thank you for coming along. And if you've got any questions for Kent, throw them in the chat room. As ever, same for everybody else. But let's now go to our special guest this week. This gentleman has. I was just going to bring up my notes on the screen here. Oh, what happened there? Stop that. Right.
That's often what people say to him.
That's
often.
So our guest is a composer producer who lives in California, specialises in keyboards and synthesizers, and has played or programmed for such artists as Keith Emerson, Miles Davis, Suzanne Ciani, Joe Satriani. Currently plays keyboards and guitar for a semi-acoustic classic hits band called Rabbit Valet, and is a member of the rock and roll roots band BigTown and co-founder of the Funky Young Monks recording project, as well as running the Music Player Network forum, which was the online forum of Keyboard Magazine. He is the founder and moderator of that. We welcome him to the show for the very first time. He's been uber generous to us, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. Mr. David Bryce.
Hello.
Hey.
How are you doing?
All right. How are you?
Now, this is a very special thing that you're leaning on. You were showing this to me pre-show. Tell us a little bit about this.
I used to run Elisa synthesizers at one point in time. All the QS series I was responsible for, and we got tired of everyone complaining about the lack of resonance filtering on our synthesizer, so we kind of did something about it. Which I'm leaning on right now. I'm actually the person who named the Andromeda. Everyone else wanted to call it A6, which is why that's what's underneath it. A whole other story. But this is the very first one that anybody ever saw at the NAMM show in the year 2000. Most of the Andromedas are blue, silver and blue. I had to make a few silver and red ones. I wanted it silver and red, but I won the name battle, so the other guys got to win the color battle. But I still had to make a bunch of these because they're overlays, right? At the end of the day, that's all. And you had to, if I remember the deal I set up, because I was the marketing manager for the division, dealer had to buy like 4 blue ones to get one of these, but none of them had the white knob caps like you see here.
Right.
And this one, you may have heard, those of you who are into Andromedas, that there was a version, a Rev 2, that had different chips in them. There were silicon chips and a whole different rev that wasn't compatible with the release. This is one of those.
Wow.
Keith Emerson has touched this. Bob Moog has touched this. Marcus Ryan. I mean, this was in the theater in the year 2000. So many people. We were writing programs on the fly during the demos.
Yeah.
And so this is one of my babies. To be
Excellent stuff. No, there's a lovely thing to see. Thank you for bringing it. Nice little show and tell there. Thank you, David.
Superb.
So we're gonna talk more with David about his career and all the things that he's been involved with and currently involved in. But let's bring everybody into the room. Hello, there we go. Celebrity Squares. There you go. There's a Funky Young Monks CD.
Not so young anymore, but grumpy old monks. That's why I'm called
Grumpy Old Monks.
Grumpy Old Monk.
Not so young anymore.
This is amazing stuff. This guy knows how to actually play. He's the guy who actually convinced me that the Hammond organ was not like a dinosaur, because he makes it sing and scream and cry and ask for mommy and
Thank you.
Well, if you want to buy any of this stuff, there are links down below in the I can't get my hand in shot there in the description that you can go to David's website, and then I think all the links to buy the stuff you can get them from there. And also you can sign up at the Music Player Network forums, which I've just done in these past few days, and it seems like a very nice place to hang. So I'm looking forward to chatting around with the people there. It's interesting. It's the Music Player Network, and we're the Pro Synth Network. It's almost like it was meant to be. Anyway, there was no plagiarism at all. Welcome to everybody that is in the chat room as well. I'm not going to go through you by name because there's lots of you in there, but thank you all. I know Ben's been throwing up all of your donations onto the screen, those that have donated via super chats and super stickers. We love you. Thank you very much. It is all very welcome, and it will pay for my plastic surgery. So what have we got? We've, like as Ben said, we've got an absolute ton of news, and we're going to try and massage it in a certain way so that we don't spend too long on particular things. So those of you who are fairly observant in the social media world will have heard that a certain company has literally been quiet for the last 6 months and then just announced like everything. They're making everything in the next 6 months, providing they get hold of the chips. So rather than go through these all one by one, everyone goes, we can't not talk about this. Let me just get Kent's little chat window off the screen. There we go. Good job there was no dick pics.
Not this time.
Not this time, no.
What do you call this?
Yeah, so we have a bunch of things, and I'm just going to go through them one by one, just introduce them all, and then we can sort of, as I said in our emails, that we can just maybe pick the one that maybe excites us the most or worries us the most, or maybe none of them worry you at all. But first of all, it seems like they've landed on a design for a small budget-sized desktop handheld small USB powered synthesizer. It looks to me like a Modal sculpt has had sex with a Korg Volker, and this is the progeny. It really is quite an odd-looking thing.
Spot on.
Yeah, but it's odd. But anyway, they've gone for this form factor.
Sponsorship going.
Yeah, indeed. So it's an odd design, but this is the Saturn Soul, which is a kind of a Jupiter-esque type machine. It's only 3-note polyphonic or paraphonic, I'm told. You've got this one that doesn't look like that at all. This is the Toro, which of course is based on a Moog Taurus. You've got the Behringer, which is the Behringer Theremin. What else have we got? We've got DeepMind 12 editor software, which might interest those who have a DeepMind.
Yeah.
We've also got, and this is probably the most original of the bunch, this is the Proton, which is like a neutron on acid, or maybe not, but it looks quite an original synthesizer. And then we've got the UB1 Spirit, which is, as you can tell, is based off an Oberheim of some description. Talking of which, there's now the 2XM, which is their version of 2 SEM modules in a Eurorack-sized format, can be mounted desktop
original.
or otherwise. Isn't it just? And I think finally, this only came out today. I'd forgotten that they'd hooked up with Hiroaki Nishijima, who was the engineer that designed the Korg MS-20. And he's now designed and developed this thing called the Hero Tribe, because he also did the Korg Mono Tribe. And he wanted to take that idea further, and this is it. And so I think Behringer do like to take these people on in some way to validate what they're doing. And I don't know whether, what the deals are, but they've come up with something, and, it does look, it's in that odd form factor, but it's it looks interesting, shall we say. So I'm going to get some breath back. You guys, do any of these excite you, bother you, concern you? Do any? A lot of these are like $99 or $49, some of them.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Last week they announced that Prophet VS thing. And the guy who invented it, the guy who led the design team, Chris Meyer, is a friend of mine.
Yeah.
And I just, what have we got here? We've got the thing that really bugs me is they've got one reasonably original idea. Okay, the proton. The neutron and the proton, the neutron actually, I think, predated the little Moog stuff. But, and the Deep Mind, the front panel looks a little like a Juno 60. Maybe it relies a little too much on the effects. But when they do something original, they're fine. But then they've got to do this. I mean, Korg and Sequential and Oberheim and Moog. They've got to make a theremin. I just have a hard time with that. And I'm not going to get into the whole culture that encourages it, because then I'll be here for an hour and you'll all have to cut me off.
Easily done. No, you're right. You're absolutely right. And I've always said about Behringer that it would be lovely if they came up with original synth designs, even if they're aping something from the past. Come up with an original design. And I was having this conversation with Kent the other day. If you're going to come up with something that is supposed to do what an SH101 does, come up with the circuitry, come up with that kind of thing, but stick it in a box that doesn't look like a 101. Don't try and rip off the name as well.
See, I agree with you entirely, Robbie, because it sets a negative expectation. When you walk up to something that is using Moog knobs, Moog's fonts and things like that, you're going to walk up to it right away. It's like you've set a bar.
Yeah.
I mean, even it's as opposed to if you're like, this is an idea of mine, you can tell people it was based on a Moog this or based on this, and we took our own take on it. Your people are like psyched to hear that. Then it's how people will approach that.
Yeah.
For me, I'm not a fan of Behringer stuff. For me, I don't. I mean, I used to get in this discussion over 1176 clones. Someone was asking me if I liked the Golden Age better than the Warm or something. I was like, if I want an 1176 sound, I'm going to get an 1176. So that's me personally. I own no Behringer. Now, on the other hand, having worked for them, there's for about 2 months, a year, about 20 years ago, there's a whole bunch of people who can afford gear that wouldn't be able to afford gear because of the Behringer folks. If you had any idea of the numbers of some of these, $79 compressors, they sell like 50,000 at a crack to people who have to get it past the wife who's saving for the kids' college funds and saving for this and saving for that. And it's either that or nothing. And some of them might step up, but most of them we're not going to get. You know what I mean? We're not going to get them with a Jupiter X or even a 999 Hydrosynth. We're not going to get them. This way, at least we'll pull them in, and maybe they'll say, "Is there more?"
Yeah, I saw somebody in an online thing just talking about these things, saying more of the same, please, Uli. Because of you, I've been able to tick off 2 of my dream synths off my list. I'm thinking, no, you haven't. No, you haven't.
Well,
yeah, you've got something that gives you the essence of it visually, maybe, or maybe even sonically, but you've not ticked off those things. You haven't got those things. But I again take your point that there are lots of people out there who cannot afford to get into the levels of technology that maybe a lot of us are fortunate enough to do. I certainly, at a young age, wasn't able to. I didn't buy my first synth until my early 20s, when I had a job and got a bonus, 1 year, and off I trotted to Turnkey and bought myself a Roland Sound canvas of all things. But so it's. I appreciate what they're trying to do to put affordable equipment in the hands of other people, but just do it decently.
Especially because Uli is a synthesizer, a hell of a keyboard player.
Yeah.
Uli and I would take over pianos at NAMM show and trade off the keyboards. He is an amazing keyboard player, and you've all seen that big '88 keyboard he built back when he was doing the Composer back in the late '80s. That was once again a couple of different engines stacked in a keyboard. Yeah, but that's what his passion is too, and I agree with you. The DeepMind. It was more interesting to me. Stuff like that was more. I was working for Dave Smith for a while he was doing the polyevolvers and things like this. When he went towards the Prophet 08 and the rest of those, I kind of lost a little bit of interest because he was doing Me Too on himself to a degree. But still, the I'm not picking on DSI by any stretch of the imagination so much as the moving forward thing is I think what grabs people, a sound that they don't have. And it's not necessarily a vintage filter that you don't have. If you get a sound generation engine that you don't have, I think is going to get more people's interest and be better for the industry as a whole.
Yeah, absolutely.
And unfortunately, I have to agree with that comment from Andrew. I have heard the Pro One versus the original, which I owned. It was one of my first synths, and they got really, really close, near as nothing. At the first Super Booth where they showed the Model D, Paul Nagel, who has had a Mini Moog, he's released God knows how many albums. He writes for Sound On Sound. He knows his onions. He knows his way around. And I was there with him in Berlin because we were doing stuff for Bukes. And he, I was standing next to him when he tried it for the first time because they had the first prototype of the D and the DeepMind 6, which they were using as a controller. And he put his headphones on and he went into Nagel mode, which is, you could set fire to his pants and he wouldn't notice. And he came up about 10 minutes later and he looked at me and he said, I could pick out 5 or 6 things that mine does that this one doesn't, but am I ever going to take my real vintage Mini Moog to a gig again? No, I am not. So they're doing this. My worry is that you've got this whole culture coming up now of people who they can't just enjoy the ability to make music with hardware when they couldn't before. They have to say, mine is just as good as the vintage hardware. Ha, ha, you idiots who have paid so many thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
And it's this culture of entitlement, they think they deserve this stuff at an affordable price. And when they get it, they get to lord it over those of us who, owned like real vintage stuff.
In that light, when I was talking about the 1176 things with the 2 clones, most of the people I've watched debate after debate of the warm audio versus the golden age. Most of the people having the debate have never actually used an actual 1176 itself.
Yeah.
Let's not say most because I have no way of measuring. Let's say probably more than a few. I've never had their hands on a Blue Stripe or any other.
Yeah.
Ken, I know that your view of a lot of this stuff is that if somebody can buy an affordable Pro One clone, it saves you having to fix one that's a real pain in the ass. But any thoughts on these new little offerings?
Well, look, there's already a contract out on me by Behringer as it is. They want me dead. No, it's like we said before. It's putting some semblance of these instruments into the hands of people who couldn't afford the originals, even when they were cheap and nobody wanted them.
Right.
They probably couldn't even afford them. But going back to that point, it's the yes, it's not really an SH-101. Not really. I know it looks like it's the same colour, same shape. Stop doing that. Right.
Yeah.
The beautiful thing I love about the Hydra, it's a big nod to the CS80. but it's not playing, Billy Big Bollocks and actually trying to look like one.
Well, see, it's the 3 oscillator thing going on. No, it's a whole bunch of different technologies that Glenn and those guys threw in. I absolutely love my Hydrosynth. It's one of my favorite things that I bought recently. Love it.
Desert Island synth.
Yeah,
hands up, actually, can we just have another show of hands here? Hands up who's got a Hydrosynth.
Where's my hand? There.
You see? Can you see what's going on here? Glenn? Are you watching, Glenn?
Hands up all those got a DX7.
You've got my address.
Oh, I've kind of got a DX7, but
I haven't got that many arms. Anyway, so get it.
Shortfalls, mate. That's all.
Ben, you've got a DeepMind.
I've got a DeepMind 12, and I've got a Pro 1, and I've also got the MS 101. I'm not a fan. I'm not a fanboy or anything, and without sounding egotistical in any way, I could probably afford the originals. Mm-hmm. But in the case of the Pro 1, I got that because I wanted the modern features. I wanted USB. I wanted it to be reliable.
Yeah, no J-wire keyboards.
Yeah, and if Dave Smith made a Pro 1 now, I would buy that instead of the Behringer one because I would want it to be authentic, but I don't want the hassle of the old shit anymore. You know what I mean?
See, now I'm sorry. Go ahead, Ben.
Yeah, no, and I was just. That's it for me, really. I think the DeepMind 12 is great. I think it's a cracking bit of kit. I think the Pro 1 sounds pretty close to the Pro 1.
But can I just quickly ask, because the reason I asked you about the DeepMind was the editor, because that's the one thing that's not a synth in here. This is an addition to one of their more original creations.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on this as a DeepMind 12 owner?
Yeah, well, is this the iOS one? Yeah, there's an iOS one. Because I don't know if you know or not, but the DeepMind 12 is quite unusual that it's got built-in Wi-Fi. Yeah. So you can just get the iPad out and connect directly to it and edit away. I think that's a great little feature on something. It's,
Kumar did that first.
Did they?
Yeah, they did. The Mojo 61 did that first before Behringer.
Oh, right, yeah. Well, I thought that was an original idea from them, but maybe
it's kind of. It's unusual.
Yeah, these new products, the iOS thing is probably the most interesting to me at the minute because I'm not in the market for buying anything else, and it definitely wouldn't be any of those small form factor things because that's just awful. That
nasty.
I mean, the abuse that Volkers get already. I'm surprised they're even going down. They're just asking for trouble.
Have you noticed that these have got rounded corners? Especially for inserting into various places.
Come on,
not into those little things at all. They're not for me.
The meme lords. At least now you can have these little units. They're costing like $49 or whatever. You can now take these to a venue to do a gig. And leave them there. You don't have to carry them back.
Throw them in the audience.
Yeah, you're the kid in the audience who wants to get started on this stuff.
Yeah, you could stick them on the rider. Yeah. We'll have like 6 Behringer synths as well as a
bowl of brown M&Ms.
Yeah. Bottle of vodka and some M&Ms.
I'm going to say 2 words. Cherry audio.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's the same. Isn't it the same damn thing? I had this friend of mine go off. He was like, when the Quadra came out, I fripped. I was no chance I'm going to lay hands on a Quadra. None. Desert Island synth of mine. Finally, I've got something I can play with that lets me poke around on the thing, And it was $29, And it's a guy who's like, well, how much does that sound like a Quadra? I was like, I don't care one tiny little bit. You think I'm going to take, if I could get one to AB, you think I would? First of all, the gain staging is different. We won't go there. But second of all, it cranks my prop. Their 8 voice cranks my prop. I love that shit. The memory, not the memory move, the Polymode one. Yeah, love it. $29. Yeah. Why are we less offended by those?
Yeah. I mean, we're talking about this stuff. Let me just add this back into the show.
I can just say one thing, by the way, about that, Dave. I can only speak to the ARPs, like the Quadra and the CA2600. But I know that during the development process, Dan Goldstein contacted Dina Perlman at the ARP Foundation and established a really solid, cordial relationship
I
with
know that
them.
too.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure how much Mr. Behringer reaches out to these people and says,
And-
we'd
Doesn't
like
mean
to
that
do this.
engineers aren't driven to make it sound the right way because
Yeah.
their
Oh,
reputation.
and by the way, Dave, I owned a Quadra. They're made out of cardboard.
right, I've seen them with the keys hanging over the edge.
Yeah.
Keys hanging over the edge, so the minute you drop them, bang!
Yeah,
You've
that's
now
it.
got it. 3
I don't
keys
want
left.
that. Why I got
But,
most of my own finish
yeah,
them. I
that-
don't want to
yeah,
be
that-
holding
that-
them when they break.
You guys are learning, by the way, what happens when you get the two of us on a show. I've been
Quite.
warning you about this for weeks.
But I'm in total control. What I want to say is that this sparked a lot of interest because it really does look like 2 miniature SEMs in a box. A lot of people got quite excited about this. They're talking about this retailing for $299. Well, for half of that, you can get an officially endorsed GeForce OBE, which is an 8 voice, which sounds just unbelievably good, and I wager would sound better than 4 of these stuck together for half the price. And I don't know, I'm sure lots of people will like this to stick into their Eurorack systems. But hey, sorry, Kent. Yes.
Does anybody know who it is I have to email to sue? What
Why?
is it with every bloody project I'm working on? Somebody's gone and done it.
Oh no, Kent, again? Oh man.
That's 2 in 2 weeks.
You should stop talking about these things.
Yeah.
Oh, come on. They started before I started talking about them publicly. Come on.
Probably.
Takes a little while
maybe
to do.
maybe you're the one that's stealing them. Anyway, look, I don't want to spend, because we could spend a whole show on everything that Behringer have announced in these past 7 days. Because last week we covered the Pro VS Mini thing, and there was 2 or 3 other bits. They really have. It's like they've been storing this stuff up. But the caveat on pretty much every single one of those announcements was, as soon as we get the chips, we'll start building. And there's talk that chips won't become anywhere near the levels they used to be until well into next year, and we're only at March at the moment. So hold your breath. But $49 for some of those, $99 for others, $299 for the big stuff. I mean, it's tempting, for people that are in the market for it.
And the one that really got me was the 2600, because there are educational programs out there that could never afford the real thing.
Yeah.
And you can put a 2600 in front of a bunch of kids for $700, and it's kind of hard to argue with that.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's this real troubling thing with Behringer is that on one hand, that they seem to be doing some useful stuff, and on the other hand, not so much. So
A lot of people out there.
I am worried though about how it's going to how these pricings will screw the little private guy.
yeah.
Well, that's why we support companies like Modal Electronics, who we can talk about next.
Well, let's do that, shall we? Completely unprepared. Yes, so Modal have announced a new version of their COBALT 8. This is called the COBALT 5S. Let's bring this into shot. There it is. This lovely little thing. Not mini keys, MIDI-sized keys, which seem to be becoming a little bit more standard across the board.
It's like the old Yamaha KX5.
Yes, that kind of thing. Yeah. So
Love it.
this is essentially a slightly cut down version of the COBALT 8. So you're lacking 3 of the 8 voices. So you only get 5 voices on this. You are lacking 1 of the LFOs, so you're down to 2 on this one. And there are only 2 effects, which are, I believe, delay and chorus. And apart from the key size and the joystick, which has been replaced by a trackpad, which operates in 3 dimensions, X, Y, and Z, that's actually not a bad little package. It's USB powered or mains powered. It has all the connectivity at the back as you would expect. Even has, I believe, still has the audio input on there as well, so you can process audio in through that. 379 UK, 449 US. It's not bad price for something that sounds this good. Now, I've got a COBALT 8 and I absolutely love it. This is an interesting thing. Who wants to go first on this one? Don't all rush. Ben.
Aftertouch, right?
And Aftertouch, yes. Mono
After-
Aftertouch.
Well,
Aftertouch is amazing on something like this price and size.
Yeah.
I think it's a great little thing. It's not for me, again, because of the keys. I don't like the keys. But like you stick it in a backpack and you're off, and you've got like a polyphonic synth that, you know, is quite a capable machine in a very compact package at a decent price as well. I think they've nailed it. But what I don't get is, I'm not sure how this platform works, but I presume it's like some sort of like computer-based platform, and it's software running on it. I don't understand, apart from keeping the higher version of it, you know, the one that you've got, Robbie, like keeping that more well-spec'd, you know, because of the lower price on this. Is that why they're doing it? Because I feel as though you'd have to disable something to reduce the amount of like LFOs or effects you've got available. To me, it's a disabling thing. That it's like, we'll have to turn that off. You know, it's a bit weird. I understand why they're doing it, if that is the case. But for value and what you get in there, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
And aftertouch on that, and that pad as well, that's got like aftertouch on it and all, but it's independent from the aftertouch on the keyboard. Which is, you get some great stuff going on there with just that alone. And apparently they've updated the chorus on it. It's a really nice chorus now.
It is, yes.
So, yeah,
so
well done.
It's my understanding, I spoke to somebody at Modal, who shall remain nameless, a Modal source, I think is what they say in the news.
Yeah.
A Modal source confirmed to me that there might be like one chip less in this than a COBALT 8. But also, this is my speculation, chips are thin on the ground. So maybe they're building something a little less spec because of that. Maybe they just want to keep the differentiation between, because if you build this with an 8 voice at 379, why would then somebody want to go and buy the 8M or the regular 8? So you've got to kind of protect your own market. So who knows? Some people have complained about the price, which I found odd, because 379 is not awful. I mean, if you're thinking in terms of Behringer, it's only a few quid more than some of the stuff that they do, and you get the quality of build and an original design, both internally and externally.
They're using Behringer as the comparison.
Yeah, maybe, but I thought that maybe. I mean, you got to think. Chips are very expensive. I mean, we're talking not like 1 or 2 times more expensive, 10, 15, 20 times more expensive than they were a few years ago. And these companies have got to soak that up and still produce goods at a value, a street price that we're willing to pay. So, I don't think 379 is an awful price for this, considering the portability, the fact that it has all of that connectivity as it do on the main instrument. So you have full size headphone audio output, sustain pedal, full size MIDI, USB MIDI, sync in and sync out, power, USB. It's all there. Nick Batt on Sonic State actually made a very good observation. They should have put a couple of guitar strap lugs, one on either end. Yeah. This would be a great little guitar. Dave, what do you think about this?
Well, I think that Yamaha really set the standard when they came out with those. That wasn't called boutique. That's the Roland
Reface.
Yeah, those right there. Exactly. And people were complaining about the keys. I was like, it's a module. Think of it as a module that happens to have keys if you need them in a pinch. Okay, they're not trying to sell you a keyboard. It's a module that does CP or whatever like that. So to anybody who complains about the keys, and you're talking to somebody who's got like fat fingers, I have a KX5. It's not as hard to play as you would think. Also, keep in mind the application. You're not going to be doing a piano track on that sucker.
Exactly. Yeah. As their advertising video suggested, which was very millennial and just kind of put me off the whole thing.
There's a thread on this at Music Player Network, and that's the first thing they went after is, can we talk about the video?
Yeah, but the average age in this room, come on, it's not going to appeal to us, is it?
Right, that's what I said. That's the first line of the first response after Andrew Schlesinger posted it in my forum. And the guy was like, okay, maybe I'm an old guy, but...
Yeah, and you put a period after the but. You're
well, the old guys have the money a lot of the time. But so who are you targeting here?
Yeah. Mr. Spong, you've just bought yourself an Argon 8, so you're familiar with the new Modal type. You did, because we got it out of the box. Well, you got it out of the box, yeah. Any thoughts on this one? Nice little portable keyboard.
Yeah, I mean, I can probably see where some people might be coming up with the thought that it's quite expensive because its format, that kind of format sits in the 129, 160 quid mark, doesn't it? Normally, that look like that. Not taking into account the gorgeous sounds that it can produce. If it's anything like the what did I get?
Argon. Yeah. To be a person that buys lots of stuff and doesn't even remember what he bought.
What was it I just got? Right, exactly. I can't remember. It was bed keys.
Yeah, I know.
Plugged into the wall.
He doesn't even download the software. He just leaves. He just pays for it and leaves it there.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah,
which reminds me, there is a library I've got to go and download. I bought it 3 months ago.
Well, no, you haven't got time to do that because as soon as we come off air, Gran Turismo. Did yours arrive?
Mine arrived.
Have you installed it yet?
My one says it's for PS5.
Yes. Did you get a code? Did you get a code? Yeah. There should be a download code. We'll talk about it later. Anyway, this is a synth show.
No Elden Ring.
Sorry.
Right, Mike. Any thoughts on the COBALT 5S?
Well, I happen to really like Modal as a company. I was very interested in their original analog stuff, which was a little out of my price range.
Yeah.
When they started doing the small stuff, though, I kickstarted the Craft 2.0. I kickstarted the Sculpt. I sold it because the UI wasn't really doing it for me, but I just yesterday bought a Sculpt SE, which I'm waiting for, because they fixed a lot of the UI issues. You can't build a synthesizer where you can't read the front panel. It's a bad idea.
Biggest complaint about
that.
Yeah.
But the thing about Modal that I like is they care about quality, both sonic and build. I came very, very close to buying an Argon 8 when it came out, and if it wasn't for various things that ended me up with the Hydrasynth, I probably would have been really happy with it. The 5S is nice because it hits a price point. It hits a niche. It's really good for the things that you're going to want something like that for. I don't think $379 is outrageous, you know. And it's got aftertouch. It's got an XYZ left-hand control, which is a brilliant, use of affordable tech and not a lot of real estate. The thing about an XYZ touchpad is it doesn't have any moving parts, and moving parts are expensive. Exactly. The one thing I'd like to see, honestly, would be an Argon version of this. Several people have said so in the chat. They're not quite as excited by the modeling that the COBALT does, but the Argon is a sort of a broader approach, a broader sound design approach, and I think an Argon 5S would do really, really well for them.
Well, I think you're probably on the right lines there, because the one thing that we can say about Modal with these elements, of the people are calling them the element synths, is that they bring out one and then they'll bring out the rest. And I love the fact that they brought out a 37 key, a 61 key, and a desktop version of both COBALT and the Argon. Now we've got the 5S in this. I'm sure we'll see. Won't be long before we see an Argon there. And I personally like both of them as equally. The Argon has a very PPG quality to its sound because it's wavetable, but it has that kind of a big nod to the PPG sound. And the COBALT, the way it approaches virtual analog is quite unique in fact it's algorithmic, so they've got all of these different collections of waveforms that you can then mix and match, and you can blend them together in different ways. So it's a really interesting way of doing it, and it does have a lovely sound to it. But it's available, I think it's available now, £379, $449 US. I don't know what the Euros price is, but I imagine it's somewhere in between the two. So that's the COBALT 5S from Modal.
How much are the... sorry, Robbie.
No,
how much are the desktops in comparison to that?
What did you pay for yours, Kent, if you don't mind me asking off the top? Because I think when you say the desktop, the keyless module.
Yeah. I'm just
it's priced between $379 and $549, I think, because I think. Yeah, it's probably
Good.
about 400.
Right, that's great.
400.
My
Yeah.
Argonate
Yeah.
was 485. I think.
Oh, that's good. That's discounted them because they were 500 and something, and then the 61 key was about 650. This is UK prices. So
There was a place selling them for 350, but when you actually went to go and get it, it went, this site doesn't look very safe.
oh yeah, that's probably right. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean they're very keenly priced and incredibly well built. I mean, you know, the 37 notes are hefty. They've got metal basses, metal tops. They've got compressed bamboo end cheeks, so environmentally friendly too. And of course, they've got that wonderful Fatar keyboard. I don't know. I think is this the Fatar on the 5S? I don't know if Fatar do a MIDI size.
Don't know if they make one like that.
We'll be mentioning Fatar a little bit later on.
Yeah.
So there you go. COBALT 5S available now from all good music retailers and some bad ones as well. Thank you to Lady Aptitude, episode 100, dedicated, of course, to the maximum MIDI velocity of the
DX7.
Who needs more than
100, right?
Who needs more than that?
Who needs 101 to 127?
Exactly. Yeah.
It's overrated.
It's so overrated. Right, what should we do next? Let's do. We said we wouldn't talk about it too much, but we're going to anyway. So of course we can't escape what's happening across the other side of Europe. And we're the feeling of powerlessness and of helplessness that I'm sure a lot of us are feeling at the moment. There are some things that we can do, and that is to support our Ukrainian friends, brothers and sisters alike. And one way is to seek them out and buy their products and services. Now, the guy behind Sinevibes, whose name I'm so sorry, I don't want to try and pronounce it because I'll probably get it wrong, but it is let's give it a go. Artemy. Let's say it's Artemy Pavlov. He's Ukrainian, and we have had updates from him saying that he has managed to leave Kiev, and he's now in Lviv on the west side of the Ukraine, which is a long way away, thankfully. He's taken as much of his development gear, and Skew came out just the other day. Non-linear audio reverser, $29 plus tax. Demo versions available for Mac and Windows as an AAX audio unit and VST3 plugin. Let's see if we can have just a little audio demo here. So I think we get the idea there of what this cool little plugin does, and it is rather cool, just like all of the Sinevibes stuff.
That is cool.
So first of all, I mean, obviously don't buy stuff you don't need, but if maybe you could, that would help. These guys need all the help that they can get at the moment, and this is one way of supporting and keeping them going in business. I haven't managed to download this and play with this. I've just gone through the demos. It's not something I would personally use myself, but I do own a lot of Sinevibes stuff, and it's top quality, easy to use, and very effective. Anybody did? Ben, let's go to you first, because normally you say, "Oh, I did download that. Did you download this?"
I didn't download this one. No, I'm sorry. I haven't tried it, but I have got a lot of the other stuff that he's done, and I'm glad to hear he's safe.
Yeah.
And Robbie's right. You know, if you're looking for effects, go to the Sinevibes site first, because what better cause can you support than one of us in trouble? You know.
Yeah, and the money goes directly to them to help keep them going and their families and everything else. It's funny because there's quite a few people in the industry from Ukraine. It's a very creative culture there. So certainly in the music tech industry, I keep seeing names popping up saying, you know, these people are in Ukraine. These people are in Ukraine. So, I mean, if anybody can tell us in the chat room of anyone that's else that might need doing stuff. And of course, as Jim said in the chat there, Sound Toys are doing 100% proceeds going to Ukraine until March 8th. I know a lot of people on Bandcamp have been using Bandcamp Fridays to say, look, all the extra money we make, we're going to give that to various
Ukrainian charities. A lot of people on the Radio Spiral roster are saying, please buy our releases today because we're just giving everything straight to such and such a charity.
Excuse me. Adamski in the chat room says, what does this plugin do exactly? Well, it's a non-linear audio reverser, perfectly synchronized to the host transport. It constantly records the incoming audio into a buffer and then plays it back in reverse chunks. It's essentially what it does. It takes it and plays it back in different ways, and there's different effects that you can have from that.
Quantized and chopped up.
It's simple. It's Ableton Live's buffer shuffler, but you can use it outside of Ableton Live.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I love that kind of stuff. That kind of stuff really pulls my daisy, and it'll be wonderful to give it a try. Hey, you're allowed to say pull my crank.
The daisy pulls my daisy. And first of all,
never mind. The point is, Sinevibes are geniuses. And I need to go. I've been looking for an excuse to go to their site and download just a bunch of the stuff that they're doing for the NTS1.
Exactly. I've got a few of their things on this little thing here. It's very good.
So I mean, I'm. This is weird for me because my mother, God rest her soul, came from Ukraine, and she and her parents fled the country right after the Russian Civil War. And looking at all these names, these were places where my family lived, and some of them are still living, and they're getting the crap bombed out of them. And this is not a happy thing.
No, indeed. If you want to buy some of their stuff as a package, they also do collections at a very reasonable discount, something like 32% discount. So if you're looking to buy into their stuff, it's just beautiful. It's simple, flat design, and it just does exactly what it says on the tin. So if you can support Sinevibes, please do. And of course, any of our Ukrainian friends, if you can help them out in any way, that would be most appreciated. Right, let's see, what else have we got to talk about? We've got loads to go through. I don't want to hang around too much. Let's talk about, as we mentioned, Bandcamp. Let's talk about Bandcamp, because there is some Bandcamp news, and that is the fact that they have been acquired, which was very interesting. But more interesting, they've been acquired by Epic Games. Now, Epic Games, you'll probably know the developers of many games, but most recently, most famously for Fortnite, which is the bane of my life because my kids loved playing, although they seem to have gone off it now. And of course, Epic Games are in this massive legal wrangle with Apple because of the way that they were working on the App Store, etc., etc. But Epic Games have now bought Bandcamp, and Bandcamp assure us that the same team are going to be in place. They're going to carry on doing business as usual. Nothing's going to change. Bandcamp Fridays, as today is one, is going to carry on. So there's lots of reassurances that everything's going to be just tickety-boo and will just get better. But equally, on this side of the fence and this side of the story, there are artists who are saying, you've just sold out to a very large multi-billion-dollar corporation.
Company.
There's going to be something coming around the corner that's going to bite us, and what is that? And you're not telling us. So there's kind of, joy on one side that Bandcamp have now got, lots of financial input, but also, what are they going to do with it? Mike, I know you've got some skin in this game. What are your thoughts on this Bandcamp acquisition?
I choose to remain cautiously optimistic. Epic is pushing hard to establish themselves as the champion of the little guy. That I mentioned this thing to my wife, who is not a music tech type, and she just said, "Oh, well, that's got to be good. These are the people who are taking on Apple." Yeah. And I think there's a lot of public perception that way. Ethan has struck me in all the years that I've been on Bandcamp as being somebody with a lot of integrity. Mm-hmm. I have a sort of an overly optimistic Cloud Cuckoo-lander vision of Ethan now not having to worry about feeding his family and being able to push this model even further. And if Epic is willing to front some money in the way that the old record conglomerates used to. I mean, there might even be the possibility of a streaming service that doesn't bend over artists and have its way with them. We have yet to see, and people have been bringing up in chat the fact that there are less scrupulous companies that have not quite controlling interest in Epic that could be a problem, around the corner. But for right now, at my age, I live in the moment. And right now, at the moment, Bandcamp is unquestionably the best platform out there for the independent artist. My catalog is on it, and it's growing. And I'm going to leave it there until, it really becomes financially or ethically necessary to move it. I refuse. God, we've got bombs falling on Ukrainian nuclear power plants. Do I really have to be a prophet of doom with respect to an online music platform?
I did hear somewhere, I'm not entirely sure if I've got this the right way around, but some of the owners of Epic, I believe there's a large Chinese contingent behind it. Also, they also have a large stake in Spotify, which I found interesting. I just wonder whether if there's something there. I don't know. I've got one track, I think, on Bandcamp, but I buy a ton of stuff from it, especially on days like today when the artist gets 100% of everything. And they get a pretty decent percentage on non-Bandcamp, Friday days. It's a much better cut than many other places. David, you're a recording artist. You have a studio. What are your thoughts on this Bandcamp acquisition?
I don't do the Bandcamp thing. I've signed up for them, but I just haven't gotten on it just because I was on other platforms before that. And I'm still not sure what my goals are. Hold on a second. Sorry. I'm eating a piece of candy. With my music.
David,
what I mean?
you're a class act all the way around.
Thank you, baby. I really appreciate it.
Love you.
Love you too. Mean it. Anyway.
Jeez, get a room.
Yeah. You seen what a hotel room costs these days? Oi! Hey, damn it. Anyway, honestly,
skips are available.
I'm on SoundCloud. I'm on Reverb Nation. But depending on which of the 6 or 7 albums I've got out, Reverb Nation has a couple of them up on the usual suspects, and SoundCloud has them up on some of the usual suspects. I've also done some stuff with Roy Elkins and Broad Jam, but I'm not under any kind of illusion about what's going to happen with my music. I don't believe I'm going to make it. I mean, I know what 8 zillion tunes go up on these platforms every day. I just want to make it available to my friends. It's nice to be able to share. It's like, oh, you got a couple of them that's got 20,000 hits. Yeah, but the rest of them have nothing. You missed. You failed to.
Yeah.
And it's this stuff. I'm not sure what my goal is, so it's hard to say. Yeah. Other than what I've got right now,
Yeah,
so it's hard to say where some of these are going and what it means to me. My music, if you want to go on iTunes right now, you can buy my stuff. If you want to go on Spotify, my stuff is there to listen to. I mean, it's where it's supposed to be. And I'm not sure, where you can buy and get a little promotion and get on a playlist and this and that. It's just so much great material out there. I'm grateful to have a place to put it where I can share it with my friends. So my attitude may not be the same as the average person.
Yeah, cool. Kent, Ben, either of you got sorry, Kent, I shall leave you to consume your dinner.
Hey,
Ben,
I'm eating here.
I'm quite optimistic about it, really, because I've been looking into Epic Games, and they've got that Unreal Engine, and the way that they've handled that is superb, really, and it's it's a similar kind of industry with creatives, and they're fully supportive. Just looking at the licensing on just as an example. The Unreal Engine is completely free to use for creators working on internal and free projects, custom applications, and linear content typically used by professionals in industries outside of games, such as architecture, automotive, and film and TV. Also suitable for students, educators, and personal learning. That's great. They've got like a world-class product here that they're saying use it. Yeah,
Use it, yeah.
Get good on it. You know, that's it.
Wasn't Dom telling us on his show a few weeks back that the Unreal Engine has now got some form of synthesis capabilities in there? I know he's in the chat room. Maybe he can pipe up in that regard.
Yeah, but does it run on your Nissan? Or was it Hyundai? Kia?
No, that was Kia. That was last week, wasn't it? The Kia software. But yeah,
they have the plugin. Yeah.
The whole Unreal Engine is now, you can develop stuff within there. Dom's agreeing with me in the chat, but he's not giving me any more detail.
Well, if you think about it, Rob, if you think about it, the bigger picture, like, are they lining up modules here for further, much further down the line? I'm talking like metaverse type of stuff, where the Unreal Engine is providing the environment to make the music, and then you've got Bandcamp there that you can just release it straight away from within the environment. Are they lining things up like that?
Who knows?
You don't know, do you?
Taking over the world.
Yeah.
One platform at a time. Dom says it's amazing you can build entire synths within the Unreal Engine, which, when you think about it, you know, when somebody says Unreal Engine to me, I just think of LAN parties at the turn of the millennium, playing Unreal Tournament with all of our, you know, when we used to shut the shop down, we always jump onto the computers and then have a massive headshot. It's great stuff. So that's what I think when I hear Unreal. But it's a pretty amazing thing. So anyway, Bandcamp has been acquired, whether you like it or not. Let's just hope that for the artists and for the whole industry, really, because it really is a great way to consume music. And not only can you download stuff, but you can buy physical product, merchandise, all of that. You know, it's just, everything's there, and it's very simple to use. Even I could use it, so that's saying something. Let's see. I'm conscious of the time. I don't want to spend too much. Ben, tell us about Cubase 12. You've got some problems because they've just announced Cubase 12.
Yeah, Cubase 12 came out recently, and it's looking pretty decent. They've got rid of the dongle, and they brought in some new features. I'm really annoyed about it because I've been a supporter of Cubase since the Atari ST days, and I've never really ventured off into anything else. I'm no longer compatible with it. So,
what, you personally, or your technology?
Me personally. They've brought out things in it now that, like, somebody of my age can never comprehend. No, it's my operating system's no good anymore. So this is only Big Sur and Monterey. It won't.
Oh right, so this one. I was trying to. Well, here's the thing. I've always been tempted to go back to Cubase because, like you, I was using it very early on, but got disillusioned with it. And every now and again, I think maybe it's just going to be handy to have on the back burner for when a project comes up where I'm working with somebody who's dealing with Cubase. And I was looking for, because you said it's not compatible, I was looking for, like, compatibility. Couldn't bloody find it on the website anyway.
No, they've kind of hidden it. What you have to do is you have to buy Cubase 12 before they tell you it's not compatible. not actually physically buy it, but press the button to buy it.
Gotcha.
So that go through the buy routine,
the disappointment hits you right where it hurts. Then it's like really
you've made
harsh.
the choice, and
that's a smart way to do it. It's like those ticket resellers. So, well, this ticket's $179. Buy. It's actually $225. Okay, well then there's another $30. Okay, so $279. Are you sure? Yeah. By the way, now there's this $4.95 convenience fee for you to print the ticket at home. Who is that convenient?
Yeah, and I call this stuff the stupidity tax. You know, you're paying the stupidity tax. They get you, and you're not willing to walk away.
So I've heard that the update from 11 to 12, or 11 dot whatever it was to 12, isn't a huge in terms of feature set and new functionality. It's more like a point release than it is a full version release.
A lot of people are disappointed that there's like no change whatsoever to the GUI. That looks exactly the same as the last version, which is fine by me. I thought it was great anyway. There's a lot of subtle changes. There's a lot of changes to the workflow where there's like new keyboard shortcuts that do things that were a pain in the ass before. Like now they're dead easy. You can trim audio right to the point where it starts just by pressing a keyboard shortcut. You can align the back end of audio up to a bar just by pressing a keyboard shortcut.
Okay.
These are really useful things when you're flying through something. It's got a MIDI remote integration now, which when I got that Keylab 88, I was like, "Oh, let's go here!" And then I set it up with Cubase, and it just didn't work. You know, it was awful. Half of the buttons on the keyboard itself didn't correspond to what they were supposed to do. It didn't do anything. This MIDI remote integration has got lots of profiles built in already with all the popular stuff. But if you've got like a bit of a quirky controller that you love to use, you can literally build it. You know, like you used to be able to do with the mixer maps in Cubase years ago. Drag a fader on. A bit like Main Stage works now. You know, you drag sliders on and knobs on, and you can easily assign them, select which way they're going to work. So that's really interested me. I'm a bit gutted about that. There's improvements to Vari Audio. You can now do, and it's not at all. Audio to MIDI chords now. So if you've got audio in there, you used to be able. Say if you had like an audio bass line or something, you used to be able to convert that into MIDI quite easily. Now you can do it with chords and more melodic.
Doesn't Logic
things.
already do that?
Probably, that's probably where they've got it from. Audio warp improvements. There's this thing called Razor, which is like a really kind of nifty limiter compressor thing. I think it's designed for mastering purposes, but you can use it wherever you want. That looks really good. That's like it's almost like a TC finalizer kind of thing, you know, just in a little plug in there, and it really gives a lot of punch to your mixes and drum loops, what have you. So the small changes really for you know, to call it Cubase 12 is a bit of a, you know, a leap of faith really there, like, but they've lost the dongle. That's the big thing.
And we won't miss that,
like
let's
the
be
changes.
honest.
No, the dongles are crap, really.
To be honest with you, it was worth the £80 just so I got another USB port I can use now.
Well, and I've never been a fan of the e-licenser, and Cubase went through so many hoops to try and keep that in place. At a trade show a number of years ago, I spent half an hour watching a product demonstrator try to authorize Cubase because somehow it had borked its authorization, and he was trying to get it up to run demos at the Steinberg booth. And he couldn't get Cubase to accept anything he did.
And of course,
Should have used a cracked copy.
Somewhat critical,
That's always been the case, doesn't it?
Yeah. Any other? I'm conscious of the time. I've got a few more things I want to go through. Anybody else got anything they want to say about Cubase 12? Or no, we're all good. Yeah, cool. Right, let's move on. Let's do some quick fire stuff. So S2400, I've got a list of things that I wanted to buy this year, and I wasn't sure I could do all of them. Probably just one. The Isla Instruments S2400 is very near the top of that list, along with the Hydra synth. Glenn Darcy.
Man.
The S2400 has just received what they call themselves a milestone update. Not going to go through this list, but I think you can see that there's a ton of stuff going on here. Lots of fixes, which is always great to see, but also lots of changes and added features, not least of which is that it's now got full 16 voices, I believe now. So just lots more you can do with that. I was going to play the demo and then realised that it was a commercial track and we would get the copyright strike, so I'm not going to do that. But loads of great stuff there. Certainly something to pick up on in terms of. Hang on, I've got the wrong. Yeah, I got the right list there, so I thought I had the wrong one. Lots of great stuff to increase the desire. I don't think anyone here has got an S2400, but does anybody have any opinions on it? Because I think it's a cracking bit of gear. No. Tumbleweed? Okay, fair enough. Not a problem.
I just thought I'd in for repair, but that's about it.
Oh, right, okay. But I mean, yeah, it's a great piece of kit, and if you haven't checked it out, go onto their YouTube channel. There's a whole hour and a quarter live stream that they did, talking through all the updates. So yeah, it's a cracking piece of gear. One day it shall be mine. The other thing that I definitely want to talk about, get a Hydra, yeah. Don't rub it in. We always mention these because they are great. We love talking about free stuff. Spitfire Audio their labs division have released Astral Forms, which is a lovely ethereal collection, they say. Although I think they've spelt ethereal wrong. An ethereal collection of sounds with vocals, double bass, electric guitar, saxophones, and more, performed by a talented group of musicians and sculpted by the Spitfire Audio team, as per usual, in their wonderful, very clean and very simple interface. And it costs the grand total of £0 the Spitfire Audio Labs collection is just massive now. I forget how many instruments are in there. It's over 40, I think. Yeah. Now, is this 40 or 41 now?
41.
Yeah.
Like
so
one of those relaxation tapes, didn't it?
Yeah, it did sound very nice. It was like the background music on your show.
Let your worries cascade away.
Yeah.
It's a great little demo, that though.
And it is, yes.
Chiropractor 101 music.
Yeah. This will not hurt.
Available now available now from labs.spitfireaudio.com. Astral Forms is the new addition to the library. If you haven't got this, then I don't know what to say. It's an essential tool because it doesn't cost you anything, and there's so many great instruments in there, as we always say every time this comes out. Anyone got any quick bullet points they want to mention on Astral Forms? We all agree that it sounds good and it's free.
It's just the usual again, isn't it? It's great,
Yeah.
it's free, and it sounds lovely. Yeah.
Just a shout out to them for doing the labs project.
Yeah.
You know,
And of course, every time we talk about this, I always mention pianobook.com, which again has got tons of great free stuff, not just pianos, lots of other things in there as well. Christian Henson's the guy behind that as well, of course, from Spitfire. So there you go. Labs, new library available now, free of charge. Arturia released a new plugin. This is quite a nice one. Ben, you downloaded this. It's the Efx Fragments, which is kind of like a granular effect. Have you had a chance to play with that?
I have. I downloaded it before, run into the usual problems that I have with these things, and I pressed the update all button, so I had to then wait half an hour before I could even get the option of buying this. And
right. Because they updated all the FX collection, didn't they, yesterday as well?
Yeah, so everything got updated. So by the time I put it on, it was time for me to come in here. So I had a quick flick through some. I had a quick flick through some of the presets, and they were really nice. I had the OBE going through it, and some of the those granular, stretching effects, and there was one called, I think it was transient extender or something. It just sounded brilliant for ambient stuff. It's probably great at other things as well, but I haven't had time to delve into that. But I'll be honest. What happened was I went through about 3 or 4 presets on the machine, and then I found this one, and it blew me away. So I had to then record a chord sequence as you do, and then I put a drum beat to it, and then I looked at the clock and I thought, shit, it's 10:02. I better get my other computer booted up, and that's when you saw me looking all panic and my audio didn't work.
Gotcha.
So, yeah,
so
it is good. It is good.
Yeah. Anyone else got any thoughts on this one? Anyone else had a chance to listen to the demos or have a play?
I'm just a big fan of Arturia's effect and their virtual instruments. There are other companies that may do slightly more authentic modeling in some cases, but I like how they handle authorizations. I like how they do updates and customer support. And I'm looking forward to playing with this. I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
I love my beat collection. I use it a ton. It's responsible for me being able to learn the CS80.
Yeah,
to wander around and play with that, and I can't tell you how many others, wandering around on the Synclavier, especially when they did the resampling update. I'm just one after the next. I have learned so much from that. And once again, how much does it sound like the real thing?
Yeah,
I use them all the time.
Dave, if you want a Fairlight, ask Robbie. He can probably hook you up.
I have one here waiting to be
I got
sold.
the app. I remember they did the $50 app. I was
Heathen.
talking to them.
No, seriously, it's a cool thing, and it's got a lot of people, access to those sounds and to somewhat of the experience of the original things. I can't knock it. But
and it even went when you turned it on. That app with the smoke.
That's it. Oh yes.
Talking of smoke.
This is the Synthy still going. Yeah,
she's still all right.
Good stuff.
No magic
Excellent.
smoke.
Yeah. So there you go. Efx Fragments is available now. It's €99. I imagine that the next major update of the FX collection next year or something, that'll be thrown in there. But if you already own a bunch of Arturia stuff, then you get discounts.
Yeah.
Because how much did you get it for, Ben?
I got it for €29, which actually was really good.
Yeah, not bad value for money at all. Sasquatch, our friend Sasquatch, who is in the chat room, I believe. Good evening to you, sir. He threw this my way, and I just thought this was an interesting thing to have. I think I mentioned earlier, my very first kind of proper professional synthesizer, and this is up for debate anyway, was a Roland Sound Canvas SC88. That was the very first unit I ever bought, and it just sounds great. Love the sound of it. But it was preceded some years before by the MT32, which was this little MIDI tone module. Well, someone has, let me just get rid of the disclaimers there, has rebirthed it, shall we say, in the form of a Raspberry Pi powered device. And it's tiny, but it's a fully functional MT32, which is pretty damn cool. I kind of like, and it even has its own little stand, 3D printed stand. I just love this stuff.
Sequence player?
The user has a full GMGS compatible synthesizer out of the box, compatible with Mr. FPGA hardware, emulates consoles, blah 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 blah. There's all the technical stuff, but yeah, I mean, it's just like a full-blown MT32. It probably sounds as good or as bad depending on your preference. But hey, I like this kind of stuff. This is
fun.
Yeah, it's fun.
It's fun.
Yeah. Does anyone use Raspberry Pis in their studios?
Wave state.
Well, quite, yeah.
Mod wave.
Yeah.
Not intentionally, no.
What are you saying, Mike? Seriously,
nothing at all. Nothing to see here. Move along.
I was just trying to see if there's a price on there, but it seems to. I don't know whether it's just a report as opposed to.
I think the thing is with the MT32, it kind of brought that multi-timbrality thing to the just the average user.
No doubt.
I don't think we need that now.
That's why I asked about the GM sequence player.
Yeah,
without the GM sequence player, what's the point of the MT32? That's what that stuff was. At least that's what I used to tell them to. Was people who were doing GM sequence playback,
and the fact
which was huge for a while.
Yeah. And as Synth Addict Andy says in the chat, it was great with LucasArts and Sierra games on the PC. I remember playing. Was it Rebel Assault? I think it was on the PC, and discovering that you could actually have the soundtrack coming out of my sound canvas, and it sounded amazing.
Because it is MIDI. See Dave Smith once again.
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I mean, I think there's a certain nostalgia for these sounds, and certainly when you look at the chiptune scenes.
Chiptune. There's an entire subgenre of chiptune of people who just do MT32 stuff, and it's like, yay you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Apparently, it's going to be open source, so that's cool. So you can just kind of build this and buy the components, build them, put it together. A lovely project to sit down on a Sunday.
I'll tell you what, though, if things carry on like this, you're not going to need a van to go gigging. You'll be able to stick it in your jeans pockets, won't you? Everything's going smaller and smaller.
That's why I don't like the Behringer synths. I'm just going to take my little iRig keyboard and a computer with me with all the stereo audio and the Roland stuff that I've got, which I have like all that, and the Arturia stuff. Yeah. And it's $49 Behringer synth for.
Indeed. Well, there you go. So interesting to see if there's any more synthesizers. If they're going to resurrect any more of the Roland. Or even the Yamaha. What was the Yamaha XG, wasn't it? That was Yamaha XG.
Yeah. MU500 was it or something?
Yeah.
I had one of them, but it was all right. That
of the two, because I had both in various. Because I think the CS1X was an XG synth, And the RM1X had XG capabilities, and then I had the sound canvas that was GS. And I used to compare the two, and the Roland was head and shoulders above the Yamaha. Yeah, it was really good
stuff. People don't realize that General MIDI came after GS.
Yeah.
I remember being in a music store when I was doing the Elisa's thing and watching people queue up literally at the machine where they could buy the GM sequences for all the, they had the Korg keyboards and the Roland keyboards, and the Gyros and stuff like that, the Yamaha one. And people weren't buying the instrument, but there was a line for the people buying all those sequences for that stuff. It was huge for the longest time. And the music -1 thing where your entertainer he would disable one track when he was going to play.
Yeah, it was a big deal back then. So there you go. One last thing before we get, I want to get on to talk to Dave because we've been here for some while. But this literally announced about an hour or two before we came on air. I thought we have to mention this because we've mentioned this the possibility that this keyboard was the one that Glenn Darcy was referring to when he said that ASM have licensed their Poly Aftertouch technology to a third party. And we thought, maybe because we saw the teaser adverts for this. And it was announced today that Waldorf have introduced the IRIDIUM Keyboard, a 49-key keyboard with Poly Aftertouch, except that they tell us that the Poly Aftertouch mechanism is provided by Fatar over in Italy. So it's a Poly Aftertouch version of the 8... I can't remember the code of it now, but it's it's one of their premium 49 key beds, but now with Poly Aftertouch. I've not heard or played with an Iridium or the Quantum or any of that stuff, but the demo that Matt Johnson did of this that I saw today it just sounds amazing, and that Poly Aftertouch really does it. So this Waldorf must now be the first company to come back at ASM and say, hey, we've got Poly Aftertouch too. Is it Poly Aftertouch's time?
Hope so.
Yeah, so do I.
Are you a fan of Poly Aftertouch, David?
Since the MIDI board, since the Kurzweil MIDI board,
yes,
you bet your ass. You absolutely. How could you not be? Anytime Teresa says, "Well, I want that one to do this. I want this one to do that."
Yeah.
It's why I got that knocked me over the edge of the Hydra synth.
Oh yeah,
absolutely, positively.
Yeah,
and I just support anything that. Any of the synthesizers I bought over the year that said will receive Poly Aftertouch, but won't send it. Isn't that sweet? All I need is something to send it. Finally, I freaking did. Yeah. Oh man, please.
Poly Aftertouch has always been the thing. I mean, I go all the way back to the Prophet T8, and it's one of the few synths that I really regret selling. And the Hydra synth got
Dave Smith's favorite, by the way, of all the things he's ever built.
Yeah, well, I have a Dave Smith Prophet T8 story, but not today. Yeah. But having this is great. You know, there was a time when Craig Anderson and I had a drink at NAMM to celebrate the fact that one of the big manufacturers was bringing back any Aftertouch on an affordable keyboard, because there was a bad period where you could not get Aftertouch on a serious synth unless you were willing to pay over $2-3 grand. So now that Poly Aftertouch is back, you know, I'm loving it. I'm all over.
Memory's not a thing. That was the thing. It was the memory and the choking of the thing. Mono Aftertouch versus Poly Aftertouch. I went away a long time ago.
Yep. And then it was just a matter of mass producing reliable hardware for the sensors, and they've got that licked.
Yeah, Kent, sorry I cut you off there. You were gonna?
No. I was just saying it's because you were saying about is now the time for Poly AT. It's always been the time for Poly AT.
What I meant was it wasn't the time for it. It's the time for it to now, you know, become popular and widespread, because
it should have been about as popular as having a pitch wheel.
Yeah.
You know, it was because it was a control that you could use. Yeah, and you could use it to do all sorts of different types of things.
Expressivity to a level that nothing else on the keyboard can.
Absolutely. You can take the dullest sounding keyboard in the world, like the Prophet T8. You put Poly Aftertouch on it, and it comes to life. No, that's the thing. Poly AT brings machines to life. It really does bring them into further dimension.
Right, mono aftertouch. I think of things like, remember the original Korg, the Poly 800 had that single filter for the entire keyboard.
Yeah.
And you would like hold down a chord, and you'd play a note, and dum 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 dum. We trigger the filter on all the notes.
Yeah.
It's limiting. Mono anything to me, when the control is limiting, it just
the fact is that at the time it was invented, which was 1971, if you didn't count messing with a mellotron. The ARP soloist, the idea was that this was something that sat on top of a Hammond, and if you're busy doing the bass line or the block chords with your left hand, and you wanted to play a lead line, a monophonic lead line, and you couldn't reach for a pitch wheel or a mod wheel, so they put a force sensor or a force bar. They had second touch. They had all kinds of names. But there was a whole genre of these monophonic synthesizers that used monophonic aftertouch. And you got to credit Yamaha for realizing.
GX1 also. Yeah, GX1 had the keyboard where you could bend up and bend down. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And the whole thing is, if you add notes, you want to add the ability to do individual intonation. Mm-hmm. But Yamaha was a voice in the wilderness for a long time.
Raleigh saw all this, but the Raleigh, I don't want to say they were ahead of their time. I don't want to say what I think went wrong with it, because there's no reason to. But I think Raleigh saw this opportunity and just didn't necessarily, maybe it was right place, wrong time or something like that. But you watch things like that Neon Vines lady, what she does with all the poly, all the rest of that stuff, and the expression that she uses, and some of the other cats who really use that well. It was just weird to play for me. It was weird to touch.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's not go there. There are lots of similes. And I just want to note something. Native VS says in chat that the Mellotron wasn't first; it was a clavichord.
Yeah.
And you can pitch bend by bending the strings.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I have to say that Mike will agree with me on this. The Korg Prophecy is an amazing synthesizer. It was the first synthesizer I ever had that had aftertouch. It's just channel aftertouch, but it introduced aftertouch to my playing, and my playing is pretty awful, but it was this extra level of expression that I'd never had before. And all of a sudden, every keyboard I had to have, or every keyboard I bought had to have aftertouch in it. And I do have a poly aftertouch keyboard in this house downstairs, currently without a power supply, so I haven't ever been able to play it. That's the DX1, which hopefully will have its power supply reinstalled very soon.
You'll die.
Poly
and I can't wait.
My ears,
The keypad on that thing feels I played Herbie Hancock at Mad Patter like years and years ago.
Yeah.
What a keypad. Just,
oh
my
absolutely.
God.
Yeah.
Although I must say I kind of prefer the KX88.
I thought it was similar to the 88.
No, the DX1 is lighter, not much, but it's lighter. The KX88 certainly has a bit more resistance, but it's it's horses for course.
Yeah, but the DX1's keyboard has to be lighter for the
of course
for the poly aftertouch.
Yeah, exactly.
To be
and
that
when you open it up
underneath.
and you see the keyboard that's sitting under there with the keys.
And will somebody please post Lady Aptitude's comment? Still waiting for Breath Control to get its nostalgic comeback. Literally vaporwave.
Well, I can tell you,
that.
I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, 7 instruments that can all accept breath control, and I've also got the MCS2 little desk tabletop Yamaha MIDI controller.
I loved it.
Which will give you breath control over anything. So if you can find a Yamaha MCS2 on eBay, which when they do come up, they're not very expensive, get that. You've got breath control.
Just make sure it works. Just make sure it works.
Yeah, absolutely.
They have real reliability problems as they get
don't
older.
use the BC1 because it's literally a pain on your teeth to keep.
Oh yeah.
The BCS3, the little headset one, or equivalents thereof, probably the better ones. Yeah,
I didn't know there was different ones. I had one of those BC ones, hated it, and never went back in. It was like having a guitar tuner in your mouth all the time you're playing.
Yeah, and it hurts your mouth after a few minutes because you've got to kind of keep it in place. It's very good. Anyway,
Korea, you get into blowing and quote.
Indeed. If you want to buy an IRIDIUM, you can buy them from the Waldorf store, and they currently have 4 in stock at Waldorf, at €2,849. So it's a premium instrument and it's a good sound. So if you're looking for one of those, they are available now over at the waldorfmusic.com website. Right,
Do you
that's
think,
it.
but before you move on, do you
No,
think that...
what?
I was just going to say, do you think that that's Waldorf's answer to the Hydrasynth? Because
it's too late.
No.
Well, yeah, but it's very
The
similar,
Iridium
isn't
is
it?
a
Every
different
bugger on the planet's
machine.
got a Hydrasynth now. We go, oh, mate, I'm broke. I'm not buying that. How much is it again? Yeah.
Yeah, very true.
It's like similar form factor with the poly aftertouch and, you know, the various engines. It just seems...
And
Well, that would be the only thing that would pull you in. So if you got a Hydra, well, sorry.
and if price, if
Got
cost
it.
is
And it's dear.
an object, if money is an object, the Hydrasynth is significantly cheaper.
Oh, God,
and
by a country
probably
mile.
yeah, exactly. So I guess it's horses for courses.
Yeah.
There you go. Right, end of the news. We've got a guest that we need to talk to, David Bryce. So him down there in the corner. No, there he is. So David, listen, before we kind of talk about what you're currently doing and all the wonderful things that you're involved with, let's go back. Let's go way back. Tell us where it all began for you with music technology.
Music tech?
Yeah, or music itself.
I've been into music ever since I could remember. I had records when I was 4, 5, 6 years old. I had help. I saw help when I was 5 years old. I've been a music addict, Beatles, everything for years and years. There's never been any question what I should be doing. Technology, I remember switched on Bach. I remember my cousin in 5th grade turning me on to Emerson, Lake and Palmer, to Tarkus, and pictures at an exhibition sent me over the edge. There was an exhibit at the Ben Franklin Institute in Philadelphia called Do Re Mi Zap. It had all these art modules, including a couple 2600s and Odysseys and things. And they let me go up on stage and play. They thought it was cool that a little 11-year-old kid was into that sort of stuff. First synthesizer, Roland RS-101, the first synth Roland before the 202, mind you. Okay. Which is why I think the first synthesizer that Roland made after coming over from Ace Tone. You know, I actually had an Ace Tone amplifier, the old Roland company before an RS-101. Had things like, I had a White Elephant for a while. If you ever seen a Quarterbox CDX organ with a Moog satellite that's coupled to the top.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
What great for Genesis. I used to play in like bands in high school that played Genesis. You would have to sit down and watch us, you know. Had a Sonic 6 for a while, bunches of things like that. Bought a bunch of keyboards in college. Mini Moog, which I still have, autographed by Bob Moog downstairs.
Nice.
That sort of thing. Went to work for the music store because I went to buy my 106 and the guy quit. When I went to pick it up, I had it on layaway, and the owner of the store was there. And he said, "Where's Charlie?" He says, "He quit." I said, "He's your keyboard guy." He says, "I don't have one. You want a job?" It was a Sunday. 1984. Next thing I know, I've got a room with a Kurzweil K250 and an emulator and all these great keyboards, and it was just a ball.
Wow.
I did that for a while until Kurzweil picked me up. I sold more Kurzweil K250s because I was in the same town that Kurzweil is, essentially.
Right.
There, Waltham, Mass. I was in Boston. The only guy selling more than me was this guy in Fort Wayne, Indiana, named Chuck.
I love it. You're still over there.
And Chuck, so I've been friends with Chuck Sirac for a very long time.
Yeah.
But he was selling these things out of his laundry room, and he was kicking my butt. I was like, God damn it. It was just cool. I toured with Miles Davis for a while as a keyboard tech on the 2-2 tour. A buddy of mine was mixing sound. He said, I need a keyboard tech for Adam Holzman. And,
I was to say, was it Adam?
Yeah, it was that tour.
I love Adam.
With Daryl Jones, too, playing.
Yeah.
And Bobby Irving. It was Bobby Irving. Where I sat in between, because I also did the percussionist rig, Nino Sinello's rig, and I did Miles' keyboard rig, which is an OB8 and a DX7 at that point.
Yeah.
And I used to sit on the drum riser between the drummer and the percussion player. So when Miles had his back to the audience, he was looking at me from 8 feet away. And he would make faces at me and play with me. It was hysterical. It was a lot of fun. Came out to California at one point in time, worked at a music store out here, got picked up by Kurzweil again, because I worked for Kurzweil for a while in the 80s when I left the music store on the K1000 stuff, doing tech support and the early focus groups for the K2000 and that stuff. Music stores. then I just actually left keyboards to do, because I had Alesis after Kurzweil. I was the marketing director of Alesis for synthesizers. I came on board right after the first Quadrasynth, the Quadrasuck as we called it. You know, can you put out a keyboard without doing any sound design? No, you can't. And so we went and made the Quadrasynth Plus, fixed that. Then the QS series, my programs are all over that.
Yeah.
People were bugging us about resonance filtering. We did the Andromeda. I left that. Started doing pro audio, so I could leave my keyboards not work in keyboard land and leave it as my beloved thing. And this is also right when I left Alesis in 2000. I had been working with Craig Anderton. He had a, blessed be his name. Craig had had a group on AOL called Soundstage and Studio where we could all talk to each other about gear. And AOL found out that we were doing that and kicked all the forums off. So Craig goes to the news group that was doing Keyboard Magazine, bass player, guitar player, etc., and has them start this thing called musicplayer.com. It was a vision of a place where people could get together and talk about gear and all this stuff. And had George Massenberg had a forum, and Al Cooper and Roger Nichols and all kinds of stuff. And they gave me Keyboard Magazine's forum. That was 22 years ago. I own the Music Player forums now. Nice. All of them. Guys, Music Player is responsible for Gear Sluts. It is responsible for I think, Harmony Central, but Jules Stanton was originally an MPN member.
Right.
So while doing that, that let me do my keyboard thing. I started doing pro audio. I introduced Atom Audio to the United States and the world. I did that for 10 years. I was that was my voice you heard all in the 2000s. I was doing almost all the advertising and marketing.
Right.
For them. And then I just started doing independent because I'm a pain in the ass to have around, and it was much easier for me to.
I'd heard that. Yeah.
Right. To work for companies that had a little bit of this and a little bit of that. Working for Empirical Labs and some Salmon Audio and Bricasti, and doing a little consulting for PreSonus and things like that. Yeah. So that was the form factor that I got into about 12 years ago. One of the companies I worked for is just getting started. The Cloud Microphones guys were doing these microphone. They started with ribbon mics, and they came up with the idea of taking the active circuit from a ribbon mic and putting it in a box by itself for ribbon mics. Sold okay, and then that's it. And then Rob the Cloud says to me, these work with dynamic mics as well. I said, what? I still remember where I was in my house. I said, what? I said, are you telling me this fixes the problem that an SM7 or a 58 or a 57 has? I said, we are selling to the wrong audience. I am still the director of marketing and sales for Cloud. I do software. Also, I have a company that I work with my friend Matt Hill. Matt does Liquid Sonics and Stephen Slate's reverbs, and the company that we do together is called Reverb Foundry,
which we love. Yeah,
it does a couple of things. It's just fun little reverbs that are just unlike anything else. And who needs another reverb? Well, if it does cool things that nothing else does, especially the one you've talked about, Tai Chi. It's aimed at keyboard players. Who else? I also work for a company currently called Roswell Pro Audio.
Roswell almost wore one of their shirts.
Roswell rocks. Roswell started on the internet. Matt McGlynn did recordinghacks.com, which is an encyclopedia of microphones. Then he started doing micparts.com, which is build your own mic kits. And people said, well, can you build them for us? And he started Roswell.
And big fan. I still use a Mini K47 for some of my voiceovers.
Love it. Oh, I love that mic, and it gets everywhere. I had one up on my Leslie up until he gave me the prototype for the mic he's working on right now, which is the one with the transformer in it. Did I say that out loud?
What?
So things have been really, really good for a real long time. Then when the pandemic hit, the Cloud Lifter thing just went through the freaking.
I bet.
Oh, you don't even want to know. We sold something like 80,000 CL1s last year.
Yeah.
Incredible. In the meantime, I spend hours every day playing music. I play keyboards, I play guitars, basses. My electric guitar is my current.
What's going on there? Oh. That's all right. I think Kent's got one of his dogs in his Hydrosynth.
Electric guitars is my current modular synthesizer sort of fascination, except with a much more interesting sound source.
Yeah.
I love it. I have a whole pedal board downstairs that can switch back and forth between my electric guitars and my Hammond.
Nice.
It's just a ball. I love it.
And so, obviously, you're an accomplished musician as well, and you've got you're in 2 or 3 different bands or something. Is that right?
Well, bands are relative these days.
Yeah.
gigs are strange. The last gig I played was I actually got to do Tom Petty songs with Steve Ferroni, Tom Petty's drummer.
Nice.
And we did a bunch of them at like an Alcoholics Anonymous thing at this big club down in. It was televised and everything. Well, it's relatively speaking televised, but that was months ago. It's so that people aren't coming out, or I'm getting old. and my Rabbit Valet thing, I think we're going to be down to like 3 people, just the singer and me playing guitar and keyboards, and another singer who plays guitar. And doing recording projects. I love doing recording projects
Because you have a studio, right?
I have several rooms here in the house that I have one
and a very understanding lady.
So she loves it. The one across the hall has all the synthesizers and the Slate Raven and the Arctic console and all the rest of that with all that stuff in it. Downstairs, I have the grand piano with the Kronos on top of it, the A100 with the Mini Moog on top of it. My Mini Moog was autographed by Bob Moog when I worked with him at Kurzweil. It has LFO4. It's got sync that what's his face put into it. Ron Rivera did all these mods to it. I can actually, my favorite Mini Moog trick on my Mini Moog is I have a switch that lets you take the filter or contour generators and switch it for oscillators 2 and 3 individually up to pitch. So I can actually do pitch envelopes on my Mini Moog. Plus, I also have a sync control for each of the individual oscillators. So I can detune oscillators 1 and 2 to get that fat sound, and then take the third oscillator, sync it to oscillator 2, and get that roar out of it.
Nice.
It's my baby. But the downstairs room has all my guitar amps and things like that, and pods and things. My wife actually likes it quite a bit. She married a musician, although she doesn't like me wandering around the house with the wireless Strat. She used to know when the sound was coming from the living room, she knew where I was. Okay. Now I can come like walking up behind her and go, "Hey, I have a question." She's like, "Don't do that."
So, I mean, the very model of a journeyman through the industry in terms of manufacturers and performers and jobs and everything. What was your most favourite job of all of those that you've spoken about? What's the one that you probably had the happiest time with? Alesis, yeah.
We love that. That was. Alesis was, I used to say when I got up and did clinics, I toured all over the world playing for them, all over the world. And I'm with Nick DeVirgilio for a while too, playing drums. Kid. And he and I would just have the most amazing jam sessions. I used to get to take people out to dinner and say, Alesis wants to say thank you. This is how. It's on the menu. You want it? Get it. You want to taste it? Get it. You want lunch tomorrow? Get it. It was the best fun. Going to all these and just I used to get up in my clinics and say, in a world of cowboys and Indians, we are the pirates. We don't make gear because of marketing surveys. We make it because we want it. And it was just the best fun. Keith Barr, who owned Alesis, God rest his soul, used to take over bars at NAMM shows and buy the bartenders. We would sit and play. We would do, the Alesis stories are legendary of B'nai Katay drilling a parking lot, setting up a tent out front of NAMM one year and drilling a parking lot with a moat around the tent because it was going to rain. I love that.
Tell us about the Andromeda, because you showed us at the top of the show. You worked on that whole project. So tell us a little bit about the trials and tribulations of bringing that to market.
And well, the biggest thing was Alesis. The keyboards were saving Alesis. Digital audio and computer programs were killing it. I had to take my buddy, one of the guys I was working with, over to my house and show him Digital Performer. And he was like, "This is amazing." I was like, "Dude, wake up." Okay. The ADAT sales were going down. They were still doing everything they could to get ADAT. SR16 was keeping the company, was doing very well. It had 90% market share. But we were taken off with the keyboards. When we went to the QS series, it was unbelievable. Having an 88 key weighted keyboard that could fit into a 76 key case because the wheels were up high and fit in a car and had it did have decent sounds. It really did. Me, Eric Norlander worked on that. Rob Rampley, Mike Peak, just some amazing people. Brian Kehoe helped us. Well, not that later on, but those guys came in.
No, but the Q8 was amazing.
We sold zillions of those things. We really did. There was nothing like them. But everyone kept bitching at us about the resonance filtering. And I would go outside and smoke cigarettes back when I still smoked with Keith Barr. No one else smoked in California. And we would talk about things and I would tell him what I was hearing on the field. And then Eric Norlander and Rob Rampley got drunk with him one night over Christmas. And the Andromeda project was born. Keith agreed to do it himself. Keith was a genius. Y'all know that Keith is like the guy who I believe invented stomp boxes when he was working in Rochester. He started MXR based on these little circuits he was making for people's amplifiers. And then MXR went in one direction and Keith went in the other with Elises. But Keith loved that stuff. He loved to dig into it. And he actually designed the 2-voice VCOs and the 2-voice VCFs that are in the Andromeda for us. They laughed at us while we were making that. They said, you guys are going to be lucky to sell 50 of these things. I said, here's what's going to happen, Jim. I'm going to put one of these things up in front of everyone, and they're going to say, if this thing sounds anywhere near as cool as it looks, I'm going to have me one of these. He's sold more than 50 over the years.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it. It was the first 16-voice mass-produced synth. The only other one before that was the Oddity, and they only made one of those. I still remember my friend Stacy and I put a thing on the box that said, who said too much adrenaline is a bad thing? We had fun. I still have two. Besides the red one that's here, I have a blue one in the other room also.
Oh, nice. Around what time did you leave Elises? Were you around when they started doing things like the Ion and the Micron?
At the very beginning of it, not the Micron. I have a prototype Ion here.
Okay.
It was actually originally supposed to be called the Orion because we went from Andromeda to the Orion. And they were working on the Air FX and Air Synth. It was the same engine.
Yes. Yeah.
They were doing that, and they were trying to invent this concept called a pre-J. That's what the Air FX is for. Pre-DJ.
Okay.
Yeah, that was hysterical. So I still do have a beta Ion that I like. That I like an awful lot. I mean, it's a fat little synthesizer, and anything that's got more than 2 oscillators is my kind of good time because I'm a minimal guy first and foremost.
Micron, a great machine.
Yeah, a little weird for me form factor wise, and that was right after my time. The same thing with Fusion. I was gone at that point. I was at Atom Audio at that point.
Hi, Robbie.
Yeah. Okay. Just down there. There you go.
Everyone seemed to love the thing, but I would the things that were right with it and the things that were wrong with it. We were all talking about the multi-engine thing, but
yeah. So I worked with Steve Howell on some of the libraries on that because Steve was part of Akai at the time and then got laid off by Akai Professional in Japan and then got re-recruited by Akai Stroke Elises, as it was back in the day. And his first job was rescue the Fusion. Do whatever you can to rescue the Fusion. So he started putting out all these libraries to kind of expand it. But, it suffered from lots of different things, which we've spoken about numerous times on this show. But
they lost their evangelist, Robbie. I was the heart and soul of Elises keyboards. I brought that thing back from the dead, from the Quadrasynth thing. I took 3-4 years going to every music store in just about every country. I was up and down the UK with the sound technology guys, just everywhere, making everybody forget we had done that stuff.
Yeah.
And then I went away. It's lost. It's not that I was that good. They didn't replace me with anybody to do it.
There you go. There are some other questions that I just want to pick out from the chat room. So our friend Wagyu in the chat, who's been most generous with his donations today, wants to know: do you still have the schematics for those proprietary unobtainium Elises ASICs in the Andromeda?
Actually, the thing I wish I had. We designed a tabletop.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
You can see on the Andromeda I can give you a hint of one of the things that was cool about it. The Andromeda has 3 separate envelopes over there, right? 1, 2, 3. There's only 1 row of those and a button that would let you toggle between them. We did things like that. Same thing with the oscillator section on the other side. But no, I don't have any of that stuff.
Well, never mind. Ben, who runs the fantastic Musings website that archives music magazines from all around the world, and is a great resource to go and check out. He wants to know, can you talk a bit about Reverb Foundry and how that all came about?
Reverb Foundry came about when a friend of my friend Casey Dowdell, who is a brilliant sound designer, and he is the Cass in Brickasty, connected me with Matt Hill. Because Matt was he'd done Liquid Sonics, but he wanted to do some stuff that was not algorithmic based as opposed to IR based, and he wanted to have a separate company for that. In case he said, if you want to do that, you want to play with somebody who likes to, who's active gearhead, who can help with that. That'll be some fun. And we did. We got together and did this thing that was actually one of Casey's pet projects. Even though Casey has nothing to do with this, it was something that he talked about an awful lot. There was an algorithm for the old Lexicon 480L that actually let you use all 4 of the machines inside that box for a single reverb. That you can't do it otherwise. The best you can do with the 4 machines is just put it in split mode, so you get two mono inputs and 2 stereo outs. This thing was the thing that David Griesinger from Lexicon did for room tuning, and it was 2 input 4 output quadraphonic thing that they used for room tuning, except you could also fold the reverb like Dune, like folding space, so that the back outputs and the front outputs all come out the same output, and the earlies from the back and the earlies from the front interact with each other. So this was a cart that you could get for the 480L, and it was really rare and really hard to get. And people think it's a surround reverb. It is, but it isn't. And it's the opposite of a Procasti in that it's so incredibly alive. We then actually, the Procasti guys asked us, Exponential Audio went away and took away with him the plugin that lets you control an M7 from DAWs. So they asked, Procasti asked us and agreed to help us develop a plugin that would control the M7. We did that. And then we just came out with Tai Chi, and Tai Chi is head and shoulders above anything that we've ever done. I mean, it's aimed at synthesizer players, as you know. Yeah. All kinds of, besides the fact that Reverb, which is a feedback delay network, kind of like a lot of the TC stuff, except much longer delay lines and much more bundles, so you don't get any aliasing or any problems with the chorusing. Besides that, it's got dynamics control, it's got ducking on board, it's got bit crushing on board, it's got dynamic EQs, so you can do all kinds of sound creation things with it that you just cannot do with any other reverb that I've ever come across.
No, it's brilliant. It's brilliant. I love it. It's my favorite reverb.
You absolutely love it, don't you?
Yeah, I use it on everything now. it's just like, I have you can organize all your plugins. I've got like favorites, and Tai Chi's up there at the top. It was Lunar Lander, but like that's gone down to second place.
That's slipped.
It still gets used. It's still a great effect, but Tai Chi's just something else. It's a brilliant reverb now.
Yeah, and of course we have to thank Dave, because he gave us some copies to give away to our audience, which they all of them came back and said, this is a fantastic thing. So they were very grateful. So thank you for that. Can I just say before I forget, we have in the chat the wonderful, the beautiful Michelle Mukusa. She says hi, hello, and I wanted to take this opportunity to remind everyone that it's just a few days left for the Moog Foundation raffle. Get your tickets now. They're $20 for one, $100 for 5. I think, is that correct? Something like that.
If it's $20 for one, it would be $100 for 5.
But was it 100 for 6? I think there is a kind of a benefit. You spend a bit more, you get a bit more. I'm sure Michelle will correct me in the chat room, but I apologise if I've got that wrong. But it finishes in 3 or 4 days' time, so please go and buy your tickets, and you stand to win this beautiful Mini Moog signed by Herb Deutsch himself, which is fantastic. Go and watch the video on the website. So yeah.
Can I get a plug in also as well?
Of course.
For those of you who may not have come across Music Player Network, that's almost intentional. We consider ourselves to be the opposite, the anti-gear sluts. It's very well behaved. It's a resource like you have never seen. It's 20 some odd years of material, all saved and all just recently upgraded. And it is owned by no corporation anywhere. It is our playground. Craig Anderson is there. Mike Metlay is there. Drew Schlesinger is there. Who was on
Mike Metlay's. I'm going. I'm leaving.
Craig has his forum. He left Harmony Central and came back years ago to the forum he started. It's his love child. We started up a whole review section. You know what? You guys, I'm telling you, I would love to give you a forum. I would love to have there be a pro sound. For all you guys who are on Facebook and you can't keep coherent threads, and you have to worry about like arguing with fighting with what this guy had for lunch and stuff. Guys, it's my playground. I have unlimited digital real estate. You want to be supported? I'll give you a forum for free. I could light it up in seconds, and your people could sit and talk and have categories and not be interrupted by other Facebook stuff. It's our playground. Come and play.
Sounds good.
Come have some
fun.
I
mean, I popped on there. You invited me to join this week, and I went on there, and what it reminded me of music technology forums 20 years ago, when they were civil, they were helpful, they were free of all of the drama that we tend to see on these things nowadays. It was a refreshing blast from the past in a modern way, because it's a lovely looking forum as well as forums go. It's a really nice looking place. So there's music
upgraded to Envision. We moved it from UBB, 20 years worth of material intact. No one thought we could do it. We did it.
Nice. So forums.musicplayer.com. Go there to join the forums, sign up, and you'll find David, myself, Mike. We're all there.
You missed me, dude. Go back up.
That's right. Mike has a forum. Go back up on Doc. There it is. Dr. Mike's Studio Workshop.
Woo!
Yeah, and guys, it's just not a little forum. We get a couple thousand people a day.
As
many as 300,000 to 400,000 people unique clicks a month. It's not a tiny little forum.
Of people.
Paul Artola, no.
Excuse me. What?
Paul Artola asked, "Is Fletcher there?"
No,
Fletcher.
I've known Fletcher for more. He used to mix my band in the '80s. Don't get me started on my brother Craig Fletcher, but he's not on my forum. No.
I was just say Michelle has clarified 6 tickets for $100. So thank you. There you go.
Oh yeah, that's good.
Yeah. So please do get those in. Anybody got any other questions on the panel here? Kent, Ben, Mike, anything you want to throw?
Well, I'd like to throw in a plug very quickly for a particular part of MPN, which you had on the screen a moment ago, called the Gear Lab. Gear Lab is a place where people who are relatively competent with what they do, rather than simply shooting their mouths off like you get on some other forums and on Facebook and YouTube, talk about new gear that comes out. The Kurzweil K2700, the Unisynth Pro, the Sensol Morph, and so on and so forth.
Interactive talk,
and people, they do posts on these things. Sometimes they provide audio, sometimes they provide video, and people ask questions and they go right back. And David, I must apologize to you twice on air. First, for the Jambe, this is David's, and John Worthington and I have been talking about getting a Gear Lab thread started. I'm hoping in the next couple of days I'll have up some real information on how it works. This is a genius percussion controller, absolutely amazing, and I'm going to be doing a Gear Lab thread on it with a couple of serious posts and then answering questions. The other thing I have to apologize for is the Korg Wave State, which shut up. It's here. I'm going to finish it. I swear to God. And then I'll be moving on. Yeah, laugh. So
I think you've just answered Andrew's question. He was asking what the Alien T tray was behind you, but this is a Jambe. It is an absolutely amazing, expressive percussion controller.
Brilliant.
It's built to an incredible spec. The people behind it are wonderful. John Worthington, if you're watching this either live or in replay,
we love you, John.
We love you.
Here's a question from Jim Glue for our esteemed guest. Did any of Keith Barr's reverb ideas end up in Tai Chi?
No. And that man was brilliant. I still have my wedge. I love my wedge. Matter of fact,
I got two.
Wedge is what's in an Andromeda, absolutely, along with essentially a rat pedal for the distortion circuit. Okay. But a wedge, man, that thing, there was nothing like it. It was a dopey looking form factor, but Keith loved the only problem was you had to drag 7 cables across your console to use it. We made those stupid.
I got two of the snakes. So instead of 7,
there was that Spinal Tap moment. We wanted it to be 12 feet, and they made us 12-inch ones. With all the breakout cables and the power cable and the MIDI shit, and we took it out of the box. I went, this is straight out of freaking Spinal Tap. What the hell?
That's like me with my modular cables, huh?
It's. I can go get one of those snakes.
Actually, but you finish up. I'll go in the other room for 1 second. I'm going to get an Elisa's relic. Hold on 1 second.
Go on then. Go for it.
The snake. The idea was that this thing was supposed to sit in your lap, like the remote to a 224 or a 480.
Okay,
right?
yeah.
So you could work from, and the thing sounds like God. It is an amazing reverb. I have 2 of them. And the problem is that unlike the 224 or the 480, this wasn't a VGA cable. This wasn't a single thing that you could. It was 7 cables.
Yeah, it was
you had a power cable
and power.
Yeah, you had 4 audio, 2 MIDI, and so you're dragging these things and unplugging them as you're pulling them over your thing. So they came out with a snake, and that's fine. Now you're only dragging a single cable that's the size of a horse's leg.
Yeah, it was.
You know, that didn't do any damage to your settings while you dragged it across your channel strips. No,
Look at this.
sir.
Here's a product we announced that we sold thousands of, and it was never, ever made. Speaking of GM playback, the QS synth could do playback off of a card. And we made these things that were supposed to be like a GM playback and MIDI recorder. The software guys could never make it work. We sold thousands of them before, took orders for thousands of them, and were never able to ship a single one.
Wow.
Yep.
It was Elisa that made the data disc as well, wasn't it?
Yes,
I had one of them for ages, a data disc. I thought it was brilliant, though.
Yeah. And what about ADAT? I mean, that was a big thing for Elisa's to introduce.
Huge. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Millions and millions of dollars. Everybody had those things until they didn't.
But
I've still got two.
I have the $6,000 Studer one, the M20. I have one of those. I use it as a converter. There was Rosetta converters in there. They were amazing. I used this as DAC for years and years before I stopped putting tape.
But the legacy of ADAT lives on, even if the tape machines aren't still going. The fact that there's still this connectivity protocol that it's still a thing today.
I use it like mad. I have an AI3, which is 8 analog in, 8 analog out, and I tapped on my DM3200 when I had one, and that was my my patch bay for all of my effects.
Yeah,
I had the Black Lion guys up mod it for a better clock and better converters, but it was awesome. I love that shit.
Yeah, absolutely. No, good stuff.
It's actually hooked up to my Apollo right now.
Right. Yep. Okay.
And Elisa's, they when they went to 20-bit for the ADAT, they did a big announcement at NAMM where they said they were going to bring out one of the world's most famous engineers to talk about the ADAT 20, and they brought out James Doohan,
Montgomery Scott. It's not science fiction.
and he did this. He was so funny. Oh my God. So yeah, they were always about these great products. I still remember that little smirk in Dave's voice when they started announcing the little half-rack nano instruments. He said, those. And then we've got nano piano.
Awesome. I still use my nano bass. I love my nano bass.
I got a nano verb that I can't do without. No, it was a great company, and they were doing such amazing things.
Yeah,
and then it got sold. And
now they're part of In Music Brands.
Yes, they are. They are In Music Brands. Anyway.
Yes. Yeah. The less say about that, the better. Anyway, Ben, Kent, any questions for our guest that you want to throw in?
Got any Alesis A6 CPU boards knocking around there?
Both of mine are in disrepair. Both of them. This one doesn't even get past the boot routine now. The V2 one, unfortunately, I took it over to CJ Vanston to show it off to him, and it didn't boot up. Shouldn't have moved it, and it can't be fixed, I don't think. But I want to send it off to what's his face in Germany for an upgrade. And my other one is it's in need of doctoring too.
Yeah, I got 5 here like that.
I don't doubt it. I know, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, it's one of those. It's up there with the Waldorf wave, isn't it? Once it goes, it becomes a very expensive doorstop.
Right. Well, thank God for modular circuit board design, as long as you have supply of the parts.
A6. Yeah.
Mind you, my wave is holding up a fence.
We'll be shipping.
My wave is holding up a fence in the garden.
This is true.
That's getting some use.
Covered in bird poo.
We have seen it. Yes. Michelle has a question. Does Dave Bryce know the story of how Keith Barr tried to help Bob get his name back?
I don't know all of the details of it. I know parts of it because Bob consulted with us on the Andromeda. We showed that, but not just the design of the instrument. I mean, he actually played this one that's sitting next to me. Bob did, and he went over he sat and talked to me about the name too. He was one of the people I did the survey with the name, but I don't know. I know Keith that then he was connected with him and he tried to do that, but I don't know the details.
Okay, cool. Anything else from our panel? Anything else from the chat room?
I'm just looking at just people asking for more Dave Barr stories.
Keith Barr.
Keith Barr stories, sorry.
What's your favourite Keith Barr story?
Easy. That's easy. Freaking Keith. We were at Elisa's, we served lunch every day, the original, before we moved to Santa Monica, the original Holdridge Avenue. They made lunch for everybody. The tradition started when the company started. We're in this guy's office, one of the executive VPs, having a meeting with 3 people from another company. I don't remember which company it was, but there's 6 of us and 3 of them, and we're eating lunch. Door bursts open. Bang! In walks Keith in a cloud of cigarette smoke. Okay. Keith always wore a brand new blue t-shirt every day and a pair of jeans every day. Plops down, but nobody knew who he was. It was great. Plops down next to me on the couch. Goes, all the conversation stops. No one knows why, right? And I look at him. I said, "What's up?" He goes, "Okay, Super Mario World. I've come to this part where I can see that there's a castle wall that I can't get through. How do I do it?" I said, "Did you find the cannon?" He says, "Yeah." I said, "You have to actually load yourself into the cannon and aim yourself at the castle wall, and it'll break and you can get off the level." He goes, "Thank you," and walks out. Nobody says anything again for another 10 seconds. Some please tell me that was Keith Barr.
Oh dear. I'll just
He was an
just
8-year-old. I loved Keith Barr like I've loved almost nobody else I worked for. He and I got I have a Groove Tubes Vipery in the other room. Yeah, there he is. I got Groove Tubes Vipery that was made by Aspen Pittman. That was because of Keith. Because we talked him into it. Me and my friend Mark McWright did a demo with the prototype. We ran all the instruments through it. And Keith went, "I love this thing. We can make a $3,000 preamp with 8 tubes in it." Love that, man.
Sounds like he did. Have we got anything else? Any other questions?
Here's one from Michelle that just popped up in chat. Keith offered to cover Bob's legal costs, which topped $200,000. Bob declined, and you can read the rest.
Wow.
I believe it. Keith loved that shit. As I said, the man used to take over bars, throw parties. He lived to have a good time. He was an 8-year-old child, and he taught me that one of the people that taught me that it was okay to continue to be an 8-year-old child for the rest of my life. He was a mentor. In that respect.
Yep, that was him and Dr. Seuss.
Yeah, sounds like a great guy, and I think that's a show, guys. Unless we've got anything else we want to throw our esteemed guests before we leave. Anything else in the chat room?
It's been an absolute pleasure having you on, David, and thanks so much for the Tai Chi reverb.
Yeah. And also, thank you for making us sound so wonderful through our...
Oh, yeah.
The whole team. I was like, I thought, when I first heard of Cloud Lifters, I thought, what do you want one of these for? Surely. And then I got an SM7B, and I thought, I can see why you would want one. But then I actually used one, and not only does it give you that boost, that lift as it's supposed to do, but it does something to the sound that makes this, which already sounds really good, even better.
What it does is you're hearing more of the microphone and less of the preamp. You're hearing the real sound of the mic. The Cloud Lifter is colorless. All preamps have color. Not a bad thing. That's why you pick the preamp that you have, probably tube versus solid state, etc. And people are like, well, I should just get a better preamp or a better. No. It's a nice option to have. To be able to change the balance between this and that.
Oh, and the ones with the controls on them. I've got a ZI, courtesy of Mr. Dave, that I adore, and I've put everything through it. It's just amazing. Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you, Michelle.
But it's amazing. I have a it's not within reach over here. I've got a Placid Audio Copperphone Mini, and you run that through a Cloud Lifter ZI, and you start screwing with the impedance, and
changes the tone in a way that no tone controls can. You're basically that was how I came up with this logo. It looks very Oberheim-like. What I was trying to get across, this is the Cloud Lifter Z's logo, was that you can actually, like Zeus, you're shaping tone by squeezing the amount of electricity that can get through. But for people who want to know what the practical application is, I'm talking through an RE20. It's that far away from me. You shouldn't be able to do that. You should not be able to do that. The other guys, you can see they got the SM7s really close to them. You shouldn't be able to do that with a microphone like this.
It's absolutely amazing. It's one of those things that you buy one, you have it in your toolbox, and you find yourself using it in all kinds of amazing ways. They're extraordinary. Bye, Dina. Love you.
I was just saying, we've been joined by the ladies. What synth? Dina and Michelle.
But the Cloud Lifter, it's one of those things where if you do any work with any kind of microphones, when I used to go and do live streaming from festivals back before it was a thing, my rig was a Cloud Lifter and an SM57 with the windscreen on it.
That's because you have the Cloud Lifter. When you turn here's the cool thing about the one Mike has an impedance control. And when you turn the impedance control down, what it does is it makes the thing operate inefficiently. So it doesn't reproduce low frequency sounds. In other words, it makes background noise go away. Sounds like people think it's an intelligent noise gate. We're just starving the plate a little.
Yeah, it's an amazing box, and and the thing that I always loved when I was editor recording, I would go around trade shows, and you would see company after company after company going, "Oh, we've created this mic Bazinga, we've created this mic Gizmo that does all this stuff," and and it was just I never ever ran into one of these boxes that sounded like a Cloud Lifter, and they're extraordinary. It's
Doesn't sound like anything.
It's witchcraft. That's what it is. It's witchcraft.
Yeah, it is. It's voodoo. It's juju.
And I wasn't even aware that there were more. I just thought, when when I first said I'm going to get an SM7B, they said, "Oh, you need to get a Cloud Lifter." And I said, "Well, why do I need a Cloud Lifter?" "Oh, well, you need to boost it, blah blah blah." And I just thought, "Oh, it's just probably a fashion thing or whatever." And then you get one and use it. You think, yeah, now I know why I need one of these things. But I thought that was it. The Cloud Lifter was that thing, that one thing. But there's a whole range of them.
What are you sniffing? What are you?
That's what I'm watching.
The power supply smells.
Good.
Dog poo.
Lovely.
Yeah, it smells of something.
You've not had it in the toilet, have you?
This is one of the few things that hasn't gone in the toilet, actually.
Unlike the
Dave,
DX1.
If you don't know, Kent has probably the most famous loo in the world of synthesizers.
And garden as well, Neil.
Yes, yeah.
As it transpires.
Indeed.
Hey, hi, Michelle. What am I, chop liver?
I don't know if she's still there. Oh, he's feeling. Michelle, send him a message. He's feeling lonely. He's feeling left
She was
out.
supposed to Skype me.
Got the shot.
I know she hasn't spoken to me for ages either. But
She's a busy girl.
She is very busy. And another reminder: please go and buy your Moog Foundation, Bob Moog Foundation, even raffle tickets to see if you can win that wonderful. It's my year this year, so just buy the tickets anyway. But I'm going to win it this year, aren't I, Michelle?
What? First Darcy and now Michelle? Come on, Puricelli. Good God, man.
Hey,
Have
it never
you
hurts
no
to
shame?
ask. Learn to ask for what you want. Learn from Rob Puricelli. Ask what you want. People say no.
Yeah,
no big deal.
That's the worst they can say.
I'm with a mini Moog. You haven't got your Hydra yet.
Give me that. Oh, shit.
But I think I have struck the deal that I was talking about yesterday for that TX816.
Oh, very nice.
I think it is going to be mine.
Oh, glory and trumpets.
Have fun.
And glory and doorbells.
I
tell you guys, I told Kent this last night. So I was looking on Google so that there's somebody selling, admittedly, it is a rare cartridge for the TX802. Oh, there you go, Kent, look. All for you. It's all about you, mate. It's all about you. So I'm looking on eBay and I find this cartridge for the TX802, which was designed to be used with the WX7. So you plug your WX7 into the TX802 and it's all these wonderful sounds specifically designed for it. And the guy is selling it for $650 for this one cartridge. I'm like, what? I've got that SysX data. I can buy a cartridge, a modern day build cartridge for half of that, and store 400 of those on there if I wanted to. So anyway, I was googling for some more information about it, and I typed in Yamaha WDB02, I think it was the thing. And at the bottom of Google, it gives you you search for this. Here are some related searches that might work better. The first three options were doorbell, door chimes, wind chimes. So even Google is trolling me for my love of FM.
You know, world's smallest violin.
Yeah, right.
So there you go. Anyway, listen, it's been a fantastic show. David, thank you ever so much for coming on. It's been a really interesting couple of hours talking with you, getting to know you. Thanks for inviting us on to... we'll have to talk about the forum thing. That sounds like a really good idea.
Do it.
You want to see me light one up? I can light one up on hold on.
And Noah's performance will be on Bandcamp tomorrow morning.
Yes, quite. Yeah, thank you, Noah. Noah's my favourite.
Let me take a minute to say it was an honor and a privilege to be on your 100th show. Thank you so much for inviting me. Thank you for everything that you guys are doing. It's wonderful.
Yeah, and thanks for supporting us as you have done, since last year, which was fantastic. You've been a real support, and we really appreciate it. So
as
great.
a member,
and if you want to find out more about what David is doing, he has his own website, and the link is down below in the chat. But it is davidbrycemusic.com. Musicplayernetwork.com is where you can find the forums, and I believe, Dave, you also have your own YouTube channel as well.
Sure.
Throw some stuff out there. Yep. So all the links down below in the description. Go click, subscribe and like and do all of that stuff.
So you guys want to see me have like a chat with Rick, 20-minute chat with Rick Wakeman wandering around his keyboard rig. You can find stuff like that there.
Cool.
Wow.
Excellent.
I'm going.
Fun.
Yeah, it's funny that all these people that I meet, like Michelle, like David, they've had these meetings with Rick Wakeman. Rick lives about 20 miles that way, and I've never had a tour around his keyboard rig. God damn it!
I just saw him last week. He was here.
Oh, give him our number because we'd love to get him on the show.
Okay, I will do it.
We'd love to get him. We'd love to get him on the show. We could probably. He lives that close. We could probably have him in the studio. Wouldn't that be cool? I don't think fit.
No, go back to MPN.
I'm going. Refresh.
And
Where are we?
Look at Keys and Synths.
Keys and Synths. Oh, where's Keys and Synths? Okay, where's it? There it is.
In real time, I just created a forum for Pro Synth Network.
Woo! It's not show. It's probably taking a few minutes to get across the Atlantic.
Hold on a second. Let me make sure I did the permissions correctly. Hold on a second. Pro Synth Network permissions.
Pro Synth Network, the network for pro synthesis, a civilized, spelled with UK spelling.
That's right.
Forum for synth professionals, news, reviews, techniques, and stories from some of the world's finest electronic musicians.
Damn, we're going to have to put stuff in there. Now we're going to have to do some work.
Oh, no, you see that? You know,
why do Americans say UK spelling? You mean correct spelling?
Yeah,
spelling.
Fight me hard.
Well, it's not made it across the Atlantic just yet, or is it? Am I looking in the wrong place?
No, it'll be right under Keyboard Chronicles.
Okay, well, it'll be there.
So,
okay.
It's in there.
And I'll give you full mod powers too, Rob. If I see Ben off there, I'll give you mod powers too, and you too can if you want to help yourself. Here's the thing: I own Music Player Network. We can do whatever we want. It's for fun.
Power. Awesome. Well, that's great. Thank you very much. You saw it live on air. We now have our own forum, which we will endeavour to populate and make use of, and we'll throw all the links up on the Facebook page as well later on. So that's fantastic. David, once again, thank you so much for coming. Please, will you come on again?
At any time. It would be my pleasure and my honor.
Awesome. Mike, as ever, always a pleasure to have you on board.
It's always
been a while.
Blast. It's always a blast to be here, and you know that you can always grab me on 24 hours notice if you need to.
Appreciate it.
And David, love you, man.
Love you too,
my brother.
Don't ever change.
Synth Gems too.
Well, I have to change at least once in a while, or the wife, says this.
Smell. Yeah, I understand.
Yeah. Anyway, I hope we see each other real soon, bro.
And
nothing else.
How is Synth Gems 2 coming on? Hint.
Sorry.
There we go. There's a visual plug.
I'm so sorry.
It's a great book.
You can bleep me later. But thank you, Dave. Anyway, we got music, we got virtual reality, we got radio, we got all kinds of stuff, and you'll hear all about it at some point.
Indeed. And if you want to find links on what Dr. Mike does, again, all in the description below this video. Mr. Kent Spong, anything? Are you restoring anything particularly this weekend? Apart from yourself?
I hear he's got a synthy.
Yeah, that's got to be finished for tomorrow morning. No, this weekend. Let me think. Not that I know of.
No.
No,
your feet up,
nothing major. Oh no, there's an SH2000. Got to put an octave divider in an SH2000.
Okay.
At least.
Sounds like fun.
Well, according to this, I'm not even on the show tonight.
Oh, did we not put you? Oh, I'm sorry. Oh.
No, I'm not. I'm just not really here.
Evidence to the contrary.
Okay. Ben Simpson, any gigs this weekend?
No, not this weekend.
Second weekend in a row, mate. What's
I know,
going on?
yeah. Well, we're getting a bit more picky about where we play now, so... No, we've not had anything for a couple of weeks, but we're back out next week, and
Nice.
I think it's pretty rock solid to the end of the year then. So.
Where can one find you next week? What
Chippy
emporium?
Wigan.
Oh God, I can't remember where we are. Don't ask
Wigan
me that.
Pier? No.
No.
Have you ever played there?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah?
I did. Yeah.
That's a very famous place.
Yeah, about 10 years ago, something like
Okay.
that. Maybe
I saw that they announced the Glastonbury or part of the Glastonbury lineup, but I couldn't see you guys on there. Are you still negotiating?
We fell out with what's his face. So
Mr. Evis.
yeah, that's him.
Yeah.
I can't even bring myself to say his name anymore.
You lie. You lie.
I think we all. I
he
think we
wanted
all have
us to-
stories like that.
He wanted us to headline, and we said, nah. We'd rather do the local Labour Club, if you don't mind.
So he's got Paul McCartney instead now, I see.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, if you can't have Electromantics, why not go for Sir Paul?
Or the
Anyway.
Wigan Bar and Grill.
Indeed. Well, I'm not going to. I'm not going to be doing anything musically related fixing stuff this weekend because I'm still waiting for that power supply to come back. I'm editing podcasts, but it pays the bills. So I've got to do some of that this weekend and catch up on some sleep because that man in the yellow T-shirt kept me up until 2:00 this morning.
I kept you up.
Yes, you wouldn't let me go.
I wouldn't let you go.
No, you were
Nah,
spooning.
like an old lady. Nah.
Well, apparently you guys carried on till about 4 after I left.
Yeah.
Jesus.
And then they let me go.
Then, yeah. So I'm going to catch up on some sleep and yeah, cool.
Sleep.
Oh, and
I know.
by the
What
way,
is that?
Gran Turismo 7. I know we mentioned it earlier, but Gran Turismo 7. Let's do this weekend because that's racing cars and shit.
Yeah.
Lady Aptitude, peace and pulse with modulation be with you too.
Indeed. Indeed.
Yeah, Fiona says as long as it doesn't interrupt with her rugby over the weekend.
Oh, that egg chasing again this weekend, are they?
Yes. Well, yeah, it was Six Nations last weekend and whatever this weekend.
So listen, gentlemen, all of you, thank you so much for joining us. Coming up over the next few weeks, I'm not going to go through the dates. I'm just going to reel off some names. We talked about Cherry Audio earlier on. Dan Goldstein on this very show this time next week. So if you want to know about Quadra and Rack Mode, which just came out last week, and all of the other great plugins that Cherry Audio have been churning out, quite, or it seems to be like one a month. Dan is on the show next week. In the coming weeks after that, we've got the likes of Starsky Carr, one of the great kind of synth reviewers on YouTube. He's going to be telling us about what he does and the channel and his favourite stuff that he likes to play and review. Then we've got Gaz Williams. On April 1st, I'm sure he'll be telling us about his what were those things, the plastic tubes, cable something or other.
Sausage.
Can't remember. Cable sausages or something. Yes, something like that.
Cable
But yeah,
bangers.
Gaz, long-time friend, and we're going to finally get his bearded holiness onto the show April 1st. This next one I'm actually really excited about. So Michael Whalen has a new album coming out. Michael's been on the show. He supports us massively, particularly on social media. And he's got a new album coming out called Imaginary Trains. It drops April 22nd, which is a Friday, coincidentally. And he's going to be on this show live from EMIAP in Philadelphia. And hopefully going to give us a little tour of the facility and maybe a performance, maybe. We can maybe hope for one of those. So, yeah, we've got him coming up. And we've got loads of other people. We've got Eric Norlander coming on in a few weeks' time
love
as well.
Eric, my buddy.
Yeah.
we worked together at Elisa's for a long time.
Absolutely, yeah. So we've got him coming on. Who I haven't mentioned some other people. As soon as I do this, I lose my list. Who have we got, Ben? Anyone?
Is that mystery person you?
Sorry. Say that again.
Is that mystery person you keep talking about any closer to?
Go on, check your email, Kent. So those of you who weren't on the show last week, we were supposed to have this mystery super guest, and unfortunately, logistics didn't work, and so we couldn't get them on. However, we are still working at it, and Kent is kind of our go-between. Any updates on that?
Well, he's on. I suppose I could phone him.
Oh, I don't know. That's a bit pushy.
I see the forum now. I found the problem. You see the forum?
Nope.
Are you sure?
Yeah, absolutely. I've just refreshed the thing. I think it's probably just like it's taking a while to populate on some server over here. Oh no, there it is. It's just come up. There we go. Let me throw that on.
Oh yeah, I can see it. Yeah,
it's there now. There we go.
Congratulations, guys! You've just entered probably the biggest asylum that the inmates are running.
So there you go. And we will populate that some point very, very soon. So we were trying to get... He was supposed to come on last week, but we couldn't get him on, so we had we just picked up some waif and stray off the street. Oh, that was it, Dave Spears. So we had him on talking about OBE.
It fell through the skyline, didn't it?
It just fell through, and he just landed. So we're still working on that one, but we got loads of people coming. We're actually booking now into sort of like the summer and in the fall for our American friends, the autumn, as it's supposed to be called.
Well, come on, autumn comes from the Latin autumnus. Fall, we say fall because leaf fall down.
All right, we'll give you that. So lots of people to come up this year. Please do like, subscribe, share the channel, and we will see you all the same time, same place next week with Dan Goldstein from Cherry Audio. Like, share, subscribe, and have a fantastic weekend. Take care, stay safe, stay healthy, and support our friends in Ukraine as well. So
love you all.
Have a fantastic time. Have a great weekend, everyone. See you all soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.